Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Learn about smart betting strategies with AnyBet. Bet wisely, enjoy responsibly, and maximize your success. The temperature by AnyBet is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the country's fiscal commissioner says the government's budget is credible.
The current budget being debated, we deem it credible. And secondly, Jamaica's current fiscal policy and the fiscal position are sustainable.
Ian Ives vows to unite the JLP machinery in South Manchester after defeating incumbent MP Robert Chin.
Yes, I came out on top, and now we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to unite the party and then to take home the seat.
But there are concerns that vote buying may have played a role in his selection.
Over $600 million written off so far in NWC debt amnesty.
Senator Marlon Morgan says whatever position is taken by the Holness administration on Cuba's medical missions will be in the best interest of Jamaica.
In news from the rest of the world, Doctors Without Borders suspends work in Haiti after gangs attack convoy evacuating medical staff.
Harvard offers free tuition to families earning less than $200,000.
In headline sports, Arnott Gardens aims to dig deeper into Mount Pleasant's massive lead in JPL.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the newest cabinet minister, Ambassador Audrey Marks, has been appointed the minister with responsibility for efficiency, innovation, and digital transformation. What are her top priorities? The minister will join us.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, what are you expecting from Mark Golding's budget presentation on Tuesday? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM.
At 7, Stuart Young was today sworn in as Trinidad and Tobago's new Prime Minister. Professor of Constitutional Affairs and Parliamentary Studies at the U.S. St. Augustine campus, Hamid Ghani, and the head of the Department of Political Science on that campus, Dr. Indira Rampasad, will join us to assess the tenure of former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and their expectations for Mr. Young. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app. Available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Monday afternoon, it's a lovely Monday, March 17, 2025.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. Jamaica's Fiscal Commissioner, Courtney Williams, has assessed the government's budget to be credible and achievable. He gave his assessment of the budget during his inaugural media briefing at the Pegasus Hotel in St. Andrew today. But he notes that while the budget is in line with the country's macroeconomic indicators, concerns still remain about outstanding fiscal reform recommendations. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
It's a credible budget. Fiscal Commissioner Courtney Williams says the government spending plans for 2025-2026 remain within fiscal rules.
The main and most important points made by this report, that is the Economic and Fiscal Assessment Report by the Commission, is that firstly, based on macroeconomic and fiscal projections, which are reasonable and achievable, the current budget being debated, we deem it credible. And secondly, Jamaica's current fiscal policy and the fiscal position are sustainable. That's the position of the Independent Fiscal Commission.
The Independent Fiscal Commission, which began its operations in January, is the successor to the Economic Program Oversight Committee. Its job is to ensure the government does not deviate from the country's hard-won macroeconomic stability. Mr. Williams says this should not be taken for granted.
The Independent Fiscal Commission has a duty to the public. And the very first thing the public should want to hear from any independent review of the national budget is whether it is credible. And any review of the overall fiscal position and policy should state that it is sustainable. These matters are also important because they should not be taken for granted. It is, in fact, for most of our history, this has not been the case.
However, he warns that some long-standing shortcomings remain in how the country approaches the budgeting cycle. These include the absence of the presentation of the fiscal balance for the specified public sector and the absence of established compensation negotiation cycles that align with the budgetary cycle. As part of his budget debate presentation, opposition spokesman Julian Robinson sounded the alarm regarding the country's rising debt.
And for full transparency, Mr. Speaker, let me share with the House. The total public debt stock is estimated to reach $2.2 trillion at the end of fiscal year 25-26. By the end of fiscal year 28-29, the government projects that it will rise to $2.34 trillion. But other people have been saying that we don't need to borrow and that we've been using our own resources to fund everything. Right? And it is inaccurate.
But the fiscal commissioner disagrees. He says the dollar value of the debt is not an issue. According to Mr. Williams, the increase in debt is being outpaced by the country's growth in GDP and remains sustainable.
How much the country is earning versus how much debt the country owes. So because the GDP is growing, so the GDP nominally is growing, the debt in dollar figure also rises, but the debt is rising at a slower pace than the GDP, and that is important to note. So if the debt is rising at a slower pace, and it means that the debt to GDP will be falling, and that will mean you can be on that sustainable trajectory because they are generating more, the country is generating more income than the rate at which it is borrowing.
The country remains on track to reduce its debt to GDP by 60% by 2027. The country remains on track to reduce its debt to 60% of GDP by 2027. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Ian Ives is vowing to unite the Jamaica Labour Party machinery in South Manchester after defeating incumbent Member of Parliament Robert Chin in an internal election on Sunday. Ives beat Chin by 19 points in a party workers' vote in the constituency. He says unity will be his top priority as the Labourites prepare to fend off a challenge from PNP veteran Peter Bunting.
I'm very elated. I'm now looking forward to extend my hand to the Member of Parliament, the sitting Member of Parliament, and to Aidan Pearce, who, would have fought a good battle. And yes, I came out on top, and now we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to unite the party because we're not a divided party, we're a united party, and then to take home the seat in the general election come whenever that is called.
Ian Ives. JLP General Secretary Dr. Horace Chang says the Secretariat will respect the outcome of the internal election. Ives is expected to be ratified as the party's standard bearer by its powerful central executive. There's been no word from Robert Chin as to the way forward for him in the constituency. Repeated calls placed to his mobile phone on Monday were not answered. Chin wrested the traditionally safe PNP seat from Michael Stern by almost 900 votes in the September 2020 general election. The JLP's victory in the seat was one of the major upsets that night. The party is hoping to repeat the feat in this year's general election.
Political commentator Jermaine Barrett says the current upheaval in South Manchester may spell trouble for the Labour Party's hopes of retaining the seat in this year's general election. This after incumbent Member of Parliament Robert Chin lost an internal vote on Sunday after the delegates opted for a different leader to represent the constituency. Barrett says Peter Bunting, the PNP's standard bearer for the constituency, stands a very strong chance of reclaiming the seat for the opposition party. More in this report from Shalois Michael.
The first-time Member of Parliament pulled off an upset when he defeated the PNP's Michael Stewart in the 2020 general election. The seat had been considered a PNP stronghold for decades. But Chin's time in the constituency has been met with serious backlash from supporters who claim he's been an ineffective leader. This came to a climax on Sunday after delegates voted for businessman Ian Ives to be their preferred leader. Political commentator Jermaine Barrett says given the upheaval, Peter Bunting stands a strong chance of reclaiming the seat for the PNP.
It is certainly not unreasonable that it's going to be an extraordinarily difficult task for the Jamaica Labour Party's candidate to come out on top over Peter Bunting. I mean, the fact is Peter Bunting's profile, Peter Bunting's largest in terms of capital and so forth, is going to give him a significant advantage. And with at best a few months to go before the general election, it is doubtful that the candidate to be selected ultimately to run for the JLP, that he has enough reputation and name recognition to earn him the spot as being the MP at the end of the election.
According to Barrett, the troubling rumours of Chin's tenure will make it difficult for any candidate to win back the hearts of constituents.
It is two things. It is one, the performance of the current Member of Parliament Chin, that puts him in a significant disadvantageous position. And although he was parachuted into constituency last minute during the last elections in 2020, the fact is his opponent was not at all as recognized and as strong as is a Peter Bunting. And so that is going to weigh heavily against any candidate from the JLP side going up against Peter Bunting at this time. Also, the fact is, one has also to assess the national campaign that is ongoing. I think that it's also going to feed into the outcome of this election within this particular constituency.
Fellow political commentator Sewell Anglin echoed the words of Barrett.
Peter Bunting is a well-known person in the PNP, and also to Jamaica, he's also well-known in the constituency. I don't know if I could say who would come out victorious, but I will say on election day it's going to be a nail-biting race, and it's going to be a very exciting one to watch for that constituency.
Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
And just a correction, Robert Chin defeated Michael Stewart in 2020. Now, some Labourites in South Manchester were upset following Chin's defeat in Sunday's vote. In a video obtained by Nationwide News, several residents clad in green were seen voicing their frustration at the decision. The police were also at the scene. They were seemingly providing a buffer between the angry Labourites and a man seen standing under a tree. Prominent businessman Adrian Peart was, or rather one of the candidates in the selection race, told Nationwide News that the man under the tree was Ian Ives. According to Mr. Peart, the video was recorded on Sunday after the Labourites learned the outcome of the vote.
On the arrival of aspirant, that's Mr. Ives, and the sitting councillor, Ms. Cherry Brown, the result came out that time, and they got upset, went over to him and Miss Brown, and Miss Brown went in her vehicle and drive away. And the guy in the white shirt and green hat underneath the tree that the police stand up in front of, he is Mr. Ian Ives. So they were talking to him and showing their frustration.
Adrian Peart. Mr. Peart is the nephew of former PNP MPs Dean Peart and Michael Peart. He received only 10% of the votes among party workers in the selection exercise. Mr. Ives won 54% of the votes. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 out west in Montego Bay.
Win with love. Use your JMMB Money Transfer Prepaid Visa Card from October 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025 for a chance to win your share of a $2.1 million grand prize. plus a $100,000 university cash grant and cash back from paying tolls and shopping with your card. Receive money 24/7 in minute with Visa Direct via MoneyGram, Zoom, Remitly, or directly through RIA and Zoom. Visit jm.jmmb.com/money-transfer for full details on how to enter and win with love. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply.
Continuing news. Government Senator Marlon Morgan has sought to assure Jamaicans that whatever foreign policy position is taken by the Holness administration on Cuba's medical missions will be in the best interest of the country. The Trump administration has vowed to impose visa restrictions on public officials in countries that participate in Cuba's medical labor export program. Trump's State Department says the decision is part of a broader effort to curb what it calls the forced labor practices of the Cuban government. Speaking on Monday on Cliff Hughes Online, Senator Morgan says the Prime Minister will always act in the country's interests.
Kingston has not yet expressed a position. The Prime Minister speaks in the budget debate on Thursday. We have a Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister who is essentially our point person, separate and apart from the Prime Minister, on matters having to do. As you know, the Andrew Holness that we know is a conscientious, principled person. He is a seamless operator, and whatever he does is always principled and with Jamaica's best interest in mind. As we move around the community of nations, being a friend to several states, the United States included and Cuba included.
Cuba's overseas medical missions operate in several Caribbean countries, including Jamaica. Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, and Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, have indicated they would be willing to lose their U.S. visas in order to defend the Cuban program. Senator Morgan says there is no disparity in the payment a Cuban national working in Jamaica receives compared to a local in any industry.
The Jamaican government, based on this our policy, when we recruit and bring in any service provider, for example, a teacher or a doctor or a nurse, the rate at which these various workers are paid is the same. We do not have a scenario in which we pay X to Cuban doctors or nurses, but Y to ours. We have an equitable and essentially a level playing field where remuneration is concerned. So that's just to be clear.
Marlon Morgan, Government Senator.
The National Water Commission, the NWC, has written off over $600 million in debt for customers across the island. Minister with responsibility for water, Matthew Samuda, made the announcement at the JOP's Area Council 1 meeting in Southeast St. Andrew yesterday.
We're going to write off those bills for you. We're going to take the burden of that debt off of the backs of our pensioners, off of the backs of the poorest in society. The PNP cuss it. They say it wasn't well thought out. Them said nothing can work like that. I am happy to report, Deputy Leader, Minister of Finance, that as of Friday gone, the Water Commission has removed $600 million off of the backs of poor people, off of the backs of our pensioners, and they have already reconnected just under 3,000 Jamaicans who were suffering.
Minister Samuda also gave an update on the 90-day NWC bill amnesty, which took effect on January 2 this year. He says more than 20,000 Jamaicans have applied for the program.
I go further. 22,000 Jamaicans have already made contact with the NWC. Of that 22,000, I am happy to report that 2,800 of them have already been reconnected. I am happy to report, and I'm giving you the exact numbers, that 3,200 are approved for connection, approved to get the write-off, just need to sign and they'll be connected in the coming weeks.
Matthew Samuda, Minister with responsibility for water.
Opposition Senator Damon Crawford says the next PNP administration is committed to ensuring there is one business per household in Jamaica. He was speaking at the opening of the Southeast St. Elizabeth constituency office on Sunday.
The second freedom to achieve is one business per household. I tired to see in a one yard, two sisters have two different bars. You know when me start do from what day, me start study rich people come I want rich. I don't see rich people splinter up them effort and don't put it in a one accord. We want one business per household. Some people already have them business. All Scotty have to do is to improve it. Some people already make them furniture, they might just want a sander. But when a man come to me and say want a start, it must be into something. You have some people that come for 3-4 start, that a false start, disqualify.
Addressing party supporters on Sunday, Senator Crawford sought to outline the benefits that will come from a PNP-led government. This includes ensuring every household in Jamaica has at least one person who holds a university degree and providing at least one nutritious meal per day to needy students at the primary and high school levels. Senator Crawford says one business per household will be facilitated through the PNP's plan to establish a trust loan.
To facilitate one business per household, the PNP will implement a trust loan where you start by borrowing 100,000, and if you pay your 100,000, you qualify for 200,000. And every time you pay, that trust is built and you qualify for more. Many people can't get a loan through them now have nothing. Most people need a loan now have nothing to put up. Because they call you a squatter in the only country where can't deport you. If you believe in the victory, go home tomorrow. Talk to your wife and your husband and your picnic. Say, what will we do when the PNP come into power? What will be our one business in our household?
Damien Crawford, Opposition Senator.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
In regional news, Doctors Without Borders on Monday suspended services at the emergency center in Haiti after gangs attacked a convoy evacuating medical staff. The aid group says 4 of its vehicles came under fire while they were evacuating staff from the hospital in the capital of Port-au-Prince on the weekend. The move followed another surge in gang violence in the city. Doctors Without Borders says its convoys were repeatedly and intentionally fired upon despite prior coordination with authorities. No one was killed, but staff members received minor injuries. The group's head of mission in Haiti told the Associated Press that it's impossible for the organization to continue operations at the hospital. But he added that the staff remained committed to reopening the facility as soon as the situation allowed them to safely do so. Doctors Without Borders says this is the second time in less than 4 months that it has been forced to suspend operations at that hospital.
Harvard University has announced that it's making tuition free for families who earn less than $200,000 a year. For families earning less than $100,000, Harvard will also cover expenses like housing and health insurance. The move is aimed at making Harvard more affordable for middle-income families. It also comes as the Trump administration targets university funding as part of a crackdown on diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) practices. The policy will begin in the 2025 to 2026 academic year.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the country's fiscal commissioner has declared the Holness government's budget is credible.
The current budget being debated, we deem it credible. And secondly, Jamaica's current fiscal policy and the fiscal position are sustainable.
Ian Ives vows to unite the JLP machinery in South Manchester after defeating incumbent MP Robert Chin.
Over $600 million written off so far in the NWC debt amnesty.
Senator Marlon Morgan says whatever position is taken by the Holness administration on Cuba's medical missions will be in the best interest of Jamaica.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robeanne Williams.
And listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
What is the
For more
on TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or
Here ya,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently. But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Junior get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake.
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait. I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
It's tax season. Time to reach for your checkbook or dole out the cash. Or maybe not. Discover an easier way to pay your taxes. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. You'll get a 1-month payment holiday, up to 55 days interest-free, and unlimited rewards points on every dollar you spend. Discover how easy and convenient it is to pay your taxes with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. Don't have a Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card? Visit Sagicor.com to apply for yours today. Conditions apply.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Former champions Arnett Gardens could cut Montego Bay could cut Mount Pleasant Academy's lead in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League to 4 points by the end of business tonight. The Junglists are in the second city for a massive Monday night clash with third place Montego Bay United at the Montego Bay Sports Complex in Catherine Hall. It's a massive game where a victory for Arnett will push them to 64 points within touching distance of Mount Pleasant Academy, who've got 68 points. Their game against Racing has been postponed. Arnett's coach Xavier Gilbert told Nationwide Sports a short while ago that he and his players are aware of the permutations, but they are squarely focusing on making sure they leave the second city with at least a point.
We know the situation, and most importantly, we have to try and fend off Montego Bay as far as we can to keep them away from us. So we come here with the intention to get our 3 points. Nevertheless, if we can't get our 3, then we don't want them to get our 3. So that's the mindset we're doing tonight. And of course, we know that once we win, we'll narrow down the margin of the lead the Mount Pleasant team have. And that's the mindset of the players.
Arnett's coach Xavier Gilbert speaking to us from Montego Bay a short while ago. A win for Mobay United will see them leapfrog Arnett Gardens, and then they'll now be in second position. West Ham and the Reggae Boys forward, Michael Antonio, has revealed that he almost died in a car crash last December. The 34-year-old broke his right leg in 4 places in the single vehicle crash on December 7. Speaking with BBC Morning Live in an interview released on Monday, Antonio admitted that after the crash, he was so embarrassed that he didn't want to be seen. He made an appearance at West Ham United's London Stadium on March 10 and received a warm reception from the supporters.
From the crash, I've been more of an emotional man. So, I'm not going to lie, I was avoiding going back because I was slightly embarrassed by the crash. I was slightly embarrassed by the accident, and I didn't really want to be seen.
Why?
I was embarrassed. Obviously, I've almost died in a car crash. It just made me slightly embarrassed that it was that bad.
Antonio says he's embraced therapy and that has helped him to cope with the aftermath of the crash. He says he remembers nothing about the incident.
I don't remember much at all. I remember being in my house, going outside with the car key, and I was like, I don't want to take this car today, I'm going to take the other car. But my missus was like, can you take the kids' bags out of the car? Being lazy, couldn't be bothered to do it. I was like, I'm just going to take this car. And that's the last thing I remember, leaving the house, going to training.
Antonio says it has only recently crossed his mind that he may never play professional football again.
If it ever crossed your mind, I won't play again.
Crazy thing is, 2 weeks ago, I was talking to my physio, and he went, do you have career engine insurance? And that was the only time I went to myself, wait, why are you asking me that? Why are you asking me that question? And he's like, no, I'm just asking you, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, you need to cover all bases. And that night, I didn't sleep a wink. That night, I was up all night thinking, is he trying to tell me something here? He's like, you're doing well.
Well, Michael Antonio, and of course, although he said he had a schedule of recovery, it will take up to a year for him to return to action. He last played football on December 3, 2024 against Leicester City. And finally, captain of Kingston Cricket Club, Akeem Fraser, says it was important his team made a winning start to their title defence in the JCA Michael Holding Senior Cup, which bowled out this past weekend. The Tigers were impressive in dismissing Boys Town CC by an innings and 4 runs at Sabina Park. KCC made 284 for 6, declared on the back of an unbeaten 56 from Fraser himself. Nicola McKenzie 50 not out, and Javon Buchanan 43 against Dawit Morgan for 4 wickets. In reply, Boys Town made 139 for 9 with Shaquille Greenwood retiring hurt on 53. Asked to follow on, Boys Town were bowled out for 141. Fraser says given the competitive nature of the group, they were always targeting Boys Town for full points.
I think it was a very good effort. We got a good total on the board. I think it was a good opportunity for Battles to get scores. Unfortunately, nobody in the top 5 or top 6 got past a half century. We got half centuries from number 7 and number 8, but that's what it is. It's a team sport, and it was a good collective effort. First outing of the season, I think 280 plus for 6. That is a good first innings total. This is the sort of fixture that we were targeting to get an outright win. When you look at the zone, no disrespect to Boys Town, they're a good team. But I think looking at the zone, the JDF and our team were the 2 teams that went to the finals last year, and only 1 team can advance from the zone. The winner of the zone that will advance, and probably the 2 best second place teams across 6 zones. So it's really competitive, so we have to give ourselves a chance to get the best possible outcome from this game, and that's an outright win.
That's Akeem Fraser, captain of Kingston CC. He's got lots more to say, but you got to wait until our next sportscast, or major sportscast, at 6:05 this evening to hear.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:32.
Are you ready to debate, dominate, and drive change? The public sector debate competition is back, bigger, bolder, and better than ever. Public sector employees, this is your chance to showcase your skills, sharpen your arguments, and tackle the nation's biggest issues head on. Don't wait. Registration closes March 28, 2025. Sign up now at publicsectortransformation.gov.jm. Brought to you by the Transformation Implementation Unit, building a better public sector for all.
Digicel, live life your way, no free what? Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for 2 to Royalton, Antigua, with round-trip flights on us. Every week you could win exciting prizes: event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now with Digicel. Better connected.
Promotion ends March 31. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
I pursue opportunities.
I prepare for opportunities.
I plan for opportunities.
With Sagicor e-Invest, you can prepare, plan for, and pursue IPO opportunities. Browse IPOs, review IPO details and prospectuses. Select and apply for a featured IPO. IPO with Sagicor e-Invest. Think wealth. Visit sagicor.com.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jack on my figure, dig the wall.
Upper Total Tools.
Beat back a figure, trim the lawn. We have everything you job them on.
Total Tools.
We rent them, sell them, and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option. Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slipe Road, Kingston. And lot C6 Jacksaw, St. Anne's Bay. Call us today.
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Trans-Jam highways. Our automated T-Tag lanes reduce the cost of managing cash at our toll plazas, and drivers of Class 1 and 2 vehicles who use the T-Tag pay a lower toll fare than those who use the manually operated toll booths. They also get their 10th trip through any toll plaza free. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost-efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
Big news!
The Big Bite Food Safety Show now airs on Nationwide 90 FM with your host, Alison Richards, the Food Safety Girl. Join Alison every Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. as she serves up expert advice, tips, and insights on everything food safety. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember, food safety is everybody's business. Don't miss a bite of the action. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. In our next episode, we'll be reading between the labels. What you need to know.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Multilink. Access every time, everywhere I go. Multilink. 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multilink. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy. Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network. Multilink. 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multilink?
Good afternoon. It's 24 minutes going up to 6 o'clock. This is Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
Good afternoon, listeners. Good afternoon, Cliff. My name is Ricardo Brooks. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Well, in our cover story this afternoon, 2 government senators were sworn into higher office as members of the political executive. Today, Senator Audrey Marks has been appointed Minister without portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister, with responsibility for efficiency, innovation, and digital transformation.
Now, as you know, listeners, Senator Marks, or Minister Marks, previously served as Jamaica's ambassador to the United States and permanent representative to the Organization of American States. She's held that role since 2016, nearly a decade now. Meanwhile, Senator Delano Seavright has been promoted to Junior Minister in the Ministry of Tourism.
He previously held the role of Senior Strategist in the ministry. Both senators were sworn in at King's House this morning. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness said Ambassador Marks will be tasked with streamlining procurement processes. Dr. Holness says this is crucial to prevent even more projects from falling into administrative limbo.
Minister Marks, your mandate will include the reform of public investment and procurement processes to identify and eliminate unnecessary delays in public investments and procurement processes while maintaining transparency and accountability. We have started on that already with some amendments, not the full slate, but what we can get done now, amendments to the Procurement Act. And there are other areas of government that we intend to reform momentarily. To reform development approvals and permitting processes, to streamline and simplify approval requirements to prevent major investments from being stalled in administrative limbo.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. Dr. Holness says Minister Marks will be responsible for creating an agile government bureaucracy. In the meantime, the Prime Minister says Senator Seavright will be responsible for maximizing linkages within the tourism industry to ensure greater benefits for the local economy.
Well, joining us to discuss further, we have Minister Marks with us. Good afternoon, Ambassador. Or we're gonna have problems now
Minister.
for the next.
I think Minister will work.
Minister, Senator, Ambassador. Which one are we going to decide?
Minister.
Okay, Minister Marks.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Cliff and Ricardo.
Good afternoon.
Ricardo Brooks.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, first of all,
I'm trying to get used to those titles too, so I'm still used to ambassador. So
Good.
it has just been two days.
Good. So here we go again, Ambassador. It's a big job that the Prime Minister is asking you to do, to create an agile government bureaucracy. What does that will look like, or what should it look like based on your mandate from the Prime Minister?
Well, first, I'm used to having big jobs. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm excited about this one, actually. Just coming from my own experience as a Jamaican, as a citizen, and also as a business person, I've lamented over the years that we could do things better. we could do things in a more seamless way. And that we really need to make some changes if we're going to compete in the global economy. So I see this as an opportunity not to do something that is too big, but something that is necessary and something that I can bring my lived experiences to in making changes that make sense and in a way that involves consensus with the other stakeholders, including the public service workers, and also persons in the private sector. Mm-hmm. Because I believe, for example, even banking services is a big is a bottleneck that could just some simple changes could reduce some pain points for persons and bring greater efficiencies in the economy. So it's just to put myself in a position where I can help to influence changes that will make it easier to do business in Jamaica, and to really, most importantly, foster an environment where people feel that they can do things without getting too frustrated and giving up.
Mm-hmm. Minister Marks, you know well the private sector and the public sector are two very different creatures in terms of how quickly things get done, right? As a former CEO, you would know you give your instructions and your reports go ahead and implement. In the public sector, sometimes it's like government of committee. We have to meet with X, then meet with Y, then get feedback from X, and then get that from Y, and then by the time we're finished with that, 6 months have gone. And then we do another round of consultation, and then we did public consultation, and then by the time we do, 2 years have gone, and nothing has happened. You're going to be going up against that entrenched system in trying to get efficiency going. How do you tackle that?
Well, I'm fortunate in that I've spent probably the last 20 years with active involvement in the public sector. Before going to Washington, I was involved in a number of public sector boards. Again, going back to my experience as a private citizen and a business person, there were times when I got so frustrated that I came to the conclusion that I needed to be at the table in some form to help make changes that will, benefit me in the long run. Enlightened self-interest, as they may say. So I've been trying to work with different government agencies from the board level for a long time, and I understand the nature of the bureaucracy from policy perspectives, having served on boards, and also from being in it as in the role of ambassador, where I saw the difficulties to make a decision and implement it quickly. So I now have a good understanding of the system, but more importantly, I find that many persons in the public sector are also frustrated with the way things are done and would like to see changes. So I am going up again, to use your word, going up against a system that may seem like it's very entrenched, but there is frustration within and without. So I believe there is enough support within the public sector from well-thinking persons who would like to operate in a more efficient manner. And I think persons, again, to go back to enlightened self-interest, they know that a more productive environment that will lead to more growth in the economy will all go well in terms of more a better pay. And I'm counting on that self-interest to be a support base in making the changes that I'm looking for within the public sector.
Could I take the follow-up or go to the break?
Let's go to the break.
All right. Hold it for us, Minister.
Clear your barrels and personal shipments with ease and convenience. Request a customs contactless clearance today through CCP at jca.gov.jm. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
16 minutes to 6.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Win with love. Use your JMMB Money Transfer Prepaid Visa Card from October 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025 for a chance to win your share of a $2.1 million grand prize, plus a $100,000 university cash grant and cash back from paying tolls and shopping with your card. Receive money 24/7 in minutes with Visa Direct via MoneyGram, Zoom, Remitly, or directly through RIA and Zoom. Visit jm.jmnb.com/money-transfer for full details on how to enter and win with love. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Jackama. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electricians. Fancy select tools, free parts and free repairs. 3 parts, free repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-61114. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
I'm Cliff Hughes.
We have with us the newest minister of the Holness government, minister with responsibility for efficiency, innovation and digital transformation, Ambassador Audrey Marks. She joined the cabinet this morning. Minister, you're joining the cabinet at a very unique time in that a general election is looming. Yeah? It's in the offing. In about 4 or 5 months, we expect we'll have an election. And you're joining the cabinet at that time. And I wondered if you have any concerns about how much you'll be able to do since the country is going to go into a heightened state of political activity soon.
Well, I expect that especially the MPs and the persons campaigning will be in a heightened state of activity for the elections. But I also believe that the work of the government will go on. And there are some of us who will need to keep a particular focus on the work of the government. And, Cliff and Ricardo, even if I was given 2 months, I'd have wanted to take this opportunity to try and make some changes to the environment, the business environment, the environment in which we are expected to operate in terms of daily activities and interactions with the government. And I'm not starting from scratch there. I literally probably have a business plan already in terms of some of the things that we need to get done. And there are quite a few actions that are like low-hanging fruits.
Such as?
That can have a dramatic impact. And so, today was my first day in cabinet, and I want to, I have to go back to Washington and complete my departure process. And then I want to present a few things to cabinet and then take it from there in terms of quick implementation.
But what are some of those low-hanging fruits that you will be targeting?
Which is why I just explained the process. I want to be able to come back to you and give more details in terms of saying these are the things that I identified, these are the things that have gotten approval to move on right away, and this is what is happening. I've always been a little bit not impressed with persons talking about what needs to be done. I'd like to be able to talk about what we have done. And that's kind of the approach that I'll be taking going forward. Whenever I come on your program to speak, it will be about these are the things that we have done, and this is the expected impact. another reason why, even if it was a month, I would at least start the process. I think we just need to we need a change of culture. So apart from the inefficiencies that we can do things that we would want to impact, I think we also have a culture in Jamaica where we don't really celebrate entrepreneurs. And there are some things that we need to do to change that. And it's not necessarily having to do with efficiencies per se, but it has to do with some policies, some regulations, some laws that will make persons more comfortable to take the risk to start a business and to do business in Jamaica. So I'm also going to be concurrently working on things that will create a more facilitatory culture for entrepreneurs, and that will celebrate innovation. Mm-hmm. I hesitated to come on this evening because I don't like to speak in general terms, but this is the start of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Here's a specific and perhaps easy one for you, Minister. Am I right in concluding that you've taken this job, a general election is looming, you've taken this job, should we interpret that as your confidence, supreme confidence, that this government will be returned to office?
Well, that too. I'm pretty sure that the Jamaicans see that the government is doing a good job. I've been particularly impressed with Prime Minister Holness' vision. I remember the first time that I really got connected to him was when I heard him speak about the fact that as Jamaicans, we have made significant strides in terms of our political maturity, our social maturity, and now we need to get to financial independence. And that struck a chord in me, and sometimes we take it for granted. Many of our, especially younger people, have forgotten the days of really bad tribal political violence when we approach an election with fear because so many people will be killed. And to see how the country has transformed over the years to where we can have an election and the election is won by one party, by one seat, and it's a peaceful transition. I'm so proud when I speak at the OAS and speak about the experience of Jamaica and how we came to this place of political maturity. And to see that we are now giving advice on elections in other countries. So what he was saying is not a joke or just saying something. It is real and we're experiencing it. And in some ways we probably will take it for granted now. And the same thing in terms of our social maturity. We are a diverse country with many different types of people, but we have a general tight feeling of being Jamaicans, and we are proud of being Jamaicans no matter where we are from, how we look, and many things that will normally could divide us.
So, Minister.
And so, let me just finish just the point to say, and so when he spoke of the vision of our economic independence, and I've seen how he has gone about it in a systematic way, and I've seen where we have laid the foundation, now that we have stopped living above our means, so to speak, and are building a foundation and a buffer that we can reinvest in the country. I think once we get people to understand the foundation that has been laid and how it will translate to benefit their lives for the short term, mid-term, and long term, I think the people of Jamaica are reasonable, and we'll give the government another opportunity to finish the process.
So, Minister Marks, you have spent the last, 8-9 years as a diplomat, yes? Now you have transitioned not only into the parliament, but into the cabinet. That means you're now a full-fledged practicing politician. Do you have ambitions to go into representational politics?
No, I actually don't. And I'd have to wrap my head around even the idea that I'm a politician. I see myself as a very patriotic Jamaican who wants to serve in a way that will allow us as a people to maximize who we are. And I want to bring all my experiences to the areas where I think I can impact the most. Mm-hmm. And and in most cases, the best way to do that in the short term is within the government of the country, because we can create so many policies, legislations that can impact right away how the country will move forward. And that's my motivation more than anything else.
If I could just follow up on Cliff's question, because being a diplomat is very different from being a minister. So you are now going to be not only a full-fledged politician, but in the direct line of fire in a political year. How are you going to deal with that? Because nobody comes after you with vitriol in Washington as a diplomat in the way that they perhaps will in an election year.
Well, I think what is important is for us to, for Jamaicans to see where we have common interest, and if I pursue a set of actions that will show that I'm trying my best to do things in the best interest of all Jamaicans. You'll always have some opposition in everything that you do. Christ was crucified. But I think overall, people will see what is being done and will support it. And that is all I can ask for. But bottom line is that I'm actually very motivated, internally motivated, to contribute to where I want to see Jamaica go. So the opposition and fights and battles don't really move me in any way, because I've been through that. It's very hard to even set up a business.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a difference in so many ways, because you're going against you're taking the road less traveled. It's always will be difficult.
Ambassador Marks, I need to ask you, you're leaving Washington at a time when you're one of our most experienced diplomats that you would have built up over the last decade. At a time when we need all the experience, especially in a post such as Washington, in the Trump era, the issue of Cuba, medical missions, and the threats from the Trump administration, how should we deal with that?
So, yesterday it might have been deportation, today is Cuba, tomorrow is another thing. And I will come back to the Cuba question. But I think the way that we deal with that is what we are actually doing now. We are actively engaging with the administration, and we are showing the importance of the relationship with Jamaica. And we are doing it just beyond talking about allies and all of those things. We're communicating in a way that appeals to America's own self-interest. Jamaica is very strategically located. Jamaica is a part of the third border. We can do some things that align to their America First agenda. And so I believe with a more transactional government, you just have to make yourself be more attractive, or where they can be seen as win-win initiatives that don't betray any of your core principles, but will augur well for positioning yourself to be seen as a valuable ally. And
spoken like a true ambassador.
In the next short term, where you'll be seeing examples of how the U.S. will be reaching out to us and how we are building, continuing to build a strong relationship. And back on the Cuba matter, we understand their concerns, and I believe there are going to be some flexibility in terms of how we address those concerns while maintaining what we know to be true. But the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think, will be speaking more on this very shortly, and she is well positioned to clarify any concerns that are in place at this time.
What you have outlined in a word is a level of pragmatism. Yes? Pragmatism.
Yes, very much so. And this is a time.
And I'm very happy to hear it, Ambassador, because Cliff and I had quite the argument earlier before you came on about this very matter. Spoken like a very good diplomat. Thank you, Minister.
But it's a difficult time for countries, especially countries who are not skilled in foreign policy and diplomatic relations, Minister. It's going to be a very trying time for all of us.
Change is never easy, but we can seize change to work for us, or you can allow it to work against you. And I think Jamaica is we are positioning ourselves to seize change, to seize this time of change to work for us. And I'm not worried about it.
Okay. Ambassador, Minister, Senator Audrey Marks, the new Minister of Efficiency, Digital Transformation
and Innovation. And your ministry is not to be confused with DOGE, right, Minister? Thank you for your time, Minister. We appreciate it.
It has been a pleasure.
Same here.
With you, and I look forward to our continued conversations. And I also look forward particularly to sharing with you some of the things that we are actually doing to make to have a more efficient economy.
Thank you, Minister. Okay, good.
Pleasure. My pleasure. Take good care.
And let me just say, before we go to the headlines, you heard it from a diplomat.
Yes.
This is exactly the point I was making to you.
You and Siobhan.
Yes.
Yes.
Principle cannot be divorced from pragmatism. You live in a world, you recognize what the realities are, and you act in your country's best interest. I'm glad a senior diplomat told you, because you never listened to me. We never got diplomat school.
Time for the headlines at 6.
Cover story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening. With the headlines at 6, I'm Nora Gay Banton. Jamaica's point-to-point inflation rate continues to fall. According to data from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, point-to-point inflation for the month of February fell to 4.4%. That's down from 4.7% compared to the month of January. This means inflation has remained firmly anchored within the Bank of Jamaica's target range of 4 to 6% for the 6th month in a row. The rate was mainly influenced by the rate for the division's food and non-alcoholic beverages, housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, and restaurants and accommodation services. Fiscal Commissioner Courtney Williams has assessed the government's budget to be credible and achievable. He gave his assessment of the budget during his inaugural media briefing at the Pegasus Hotel in St. Andrew on Monday. But he notes that while the budget is in line with the country's macroeconomic indicators, concern still remains about outstanding fiscal reform recommendations. Mr. Williams says the government's spending plans for 2025 to 2026 remain within fiscal rules.
The main and most important points made by this report, that is the Economic and Fiscal Assessment Report by the Commission, is that firstly, based on macroeconomic and fiscal projections, which are reasonable and achievable, the current budget being debated, we deem it credible. And secondly, Jamaica's current fiscal policy and the fiscal position are sustainable. That's the position of the Independent Fiscal Commission.
The Independent Fiscal Commission, which began its operations in January, is the successor to the Economic Program Oversight Committee. Its job is to ensure the government does not deviate from the country's hard-won macroeconomic stability. Mr. Williams says this should not be taken for granted.
The Independent Fiscal Commission has a duty to the public. And the very first thing the public should want to hear from any independent review of the national budget is whether it is credible. And any review of the overall fiscal position and policy should state that it is sustainable. These matters are also important because they should not be taken for granted. It is, in fact, for most of our history, this has not been the case.
However, he warns that some long-standing shortcomings remain in how the country approaches the budgeting cycle. These include the absence of the presentation of the fiscal balance for the specified public sector and the absence of established compensation negotiation cycles that align with the budgetary cycle. Ian Ives is vowing to unite the Jamaica Labour Party machinery in South Manchester after defeating incumbent Member of Parliament Robert Chin in an internal election on Sunday. Ives beat Chin by 19 points in a party workers' vote in the constituency. He says unity will be his top priority as the Labourites prepare to fend off a challenge from PNP veteran Peter Bunting.
I'm very elated. I'm now looking forward to extend my hand to the Member of Parliament, the sitting Member of Parliament, and to Aidan Peart, who, would have fought a good battle. And yes, I came out on top, and now we have a lot of work to do, and we're going to unite the party because we're not a divided party, we're a united party, and then to take home the seat in the general election, come whenever that is called.
JLP General Secretary Dr. Horace Chang says the Secretariat will respect the outcome of the internal election. Ives is expected to be ratified as the party's standard bearer by its powerful central executive. There's been no word from Robert Chin as to the way forward for him in the constituency. Repeated calls placed to his mobile phone on Monday were not answered. Chin wrested the traditionally safe PNP seat from Michael Stewart by almost 900 votes in the September 2020 general election. The JLP's victory in the seat was one of the major upsets that night. The party is hoping to repeat the feat in this year's general election. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay Banton. Sport is next.
Deposit we have insurance. It's an account that come with assurance. Let me teach you why it's important to have deposit insurance. Just in case your bank crash dead, no need to put your hands by your head. Up to 1.2 million you get for all accounts that's affected. Yeah, one room you can start it, or throw a house party. Pay your mortgage with ease. JDIC is a smart win. Deposits we bring safety. JDIC them protect me. Bank and billing society protected. The flow you must get with. Protect your savings smart. We urging you to call me. Guarantee you need us. We take banking serious.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
Digicel, live life your way, no free what? Digicel postpaid. With Digicel postpaid, it's all about you. Sign up or pay your bills to stay active for a chance to win a luxurious all-expense paid trip for two to Royalton, Antigua. With round-trip flights on us, every week you could win exciting prizes. Event tickets, gym memberships, spa packages, excursion adventures, restaurant vouchers, and more. When you opt in on the My Digicel app, life your way starts now with Digicel. Better connected.
Promotion ends March 31. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
March into savings with ATL's March Madness sale. Get up to 50% off select appliances, electronics, and hard-to-find parts all month long. Upgrade your home and business with everything you need at unbeatable prices and best quality brands. Shop in store at Kingston, Ocho Rios, and Montego Bay, or beat the traffic and buy online at atljamaica.com and get island wide delivery. ATL, the best brands and the best service. Sale ends March 31 while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Get ready for Talk the Things, a night of captivating poetry and storytelling at Jamnesia Surf Club, Bull Bay, St. Thomas on Saturday, March 22 at 6 p.m. featuring incredible performances by award-winning talents like Joel Jawara Ellis, Kwame McPherson, Britton Wright, Casey Garvey, and many more. Tickets are only $1,000. Get yours now at buzzworld.com or contact 876-542-5943. Don't miss this unforgettable night of talent, creativity, and culture. Produced by Jaico Professional Poets. Sponsored by Nationwide 90 FM.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Former champions Arnett Gardens could cut Mount Pleasant Academy's lead in the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League to 4 points by the end of business tonight. The Junglists are in the second city for a massive Monday night clash with the third place Montego Bay United at the Montego Bay Sports Complex at Catherine Hall. It's a massive game where a victory for Arnett will push them to 64 points within touching distance of Mount Pleasant. They've got 68 points and their game has been postponed. A game scheduled for tonight against Racing in Mobay. Arnett's coach Xavier Gilbert says he and his players are aware of the permutations, but they're squarely focusing on making sure that they leave the second city with at least a point.
We know the situation, and most importantly, we have to try and fend off Montego Bay as far as we can to keep them away from us. So we come here with the intention to get our 3 points. Nevertheless, if we can't get our 3, then we don't want them to get our 3. So that's the mindset heading in tonight. And of course, we know that once we win, we'll narrow down the margin of the lead the Mount Pleasant team have, and that's the mindset of the players.
That's Arnett's coach, Xavier Gilbert. A win for Mobay will see them leapfrog Arnett into second place. West Ham and Reggae Boys forward Mikel Antonio has revealed that he almost died in a car crash last December. The 34-year-old broke his right leg in 4 places in the single vehicle crash on December 7. Speaking with BBC Morning Live in an interview released on Monday morning, Antonio admitted that after the crash, he was so embarrassed that he didn't want to be seen. He made an appearance at West Ham's London Stadium last week, and he received a warm reception from the supporters.
From the crash, I've been more of an emotional man, so I'm not going to lie, I was avoiding going back because I was slightly embarrassed by the crash. I was slightly embarrassed by the accident, and I didn't really want to be seen.
Why?
I was embarrassed. Obviously, I've almost died in a car crash. It just made me slightly embarrassed that it was that bad.
Antonio says he's embraced the therapy and that it has helped him to cope with the aftermath of the crash. He says he remembers nothing about the incident.
I don't remember much at all. I remember being in my house, going outside with the car key. And I was like, I don't want to take this car today, I'm going to take the other car. But my missus was like, can you take the kids' bags out of the car? Being lazy, couldn't be bothered to do it. I was like, I'm just going to take this car. And that's the last thing I remember. Leaving the house, going to training.
Antonio says it has only recently crossed his mind that there was a possibility he never played football again.
Did it ever cross your mind, I won't play again?
The crazy thing is, 2 weeks ago, I was talking to my physio, and he went, do you have career engine insurance? And that was the only time I went to myself, wait, why are you asking me that? Why are you asking me that question? And he's like, no, I'm just asking you, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, you need to cover all bases. And that night, I didn't sleep a wink. That night, I was up all night thinking, is he trying to tell me something here? He's like, you're doing well.
Mikel Antonio, West Ham and national senior football team striker. He was in Dubai last week, In fact, he spent the last 2 weeks in Dubai trying to recuperate. And although he is ahead of schedule with his recovery, it will still take up to a year before he can return to action. He last played on December 3, 2024 against Leicester City. Last week, the coach at West Ham United was talking about Antonio joining the team in training next week, actually. Manchester United season ticket prices will increase by about 5% for the third successive year as the club aims to become financially sustainable. The Manchester United Supporters Trust, MUST, says the increase is, quote, less than many feared, and there has been a price freeze for under 16s. But MUST says Man United fans have expressed their disappointment that the club has ignored the call for a widespread pricing freeze since becoming the club's co-owner last year. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his Ineos group have tried to improve the club's finances, but several changes have been unpopular, resulting in fan protests, in particular at last week's home game against Arsenal. Some of the latest changes for the 2025-26 season include the introduction of a game categorization model for non-season ticket holders, where premium games cost more. United are also increasing the minimum usage requirement for season ticket holders from 15 to 16 of their 19 Premier League home games. United's chief executive Omar Barada says the club worked hard to come with a pricing package that is fair and reasonable, and that the new changes have been made to offset continued rises in operating costs. However, MUST says that they failed to see any justification for the increase, and that the new categorization model is, quote, a source of major concern, end of quote. Captain of Kingston Cricket Club Akeem Fraser says it was important his team made a winning start to their title defense in the JCA Michael Holding Senior Cup, which bowled off this past weekend. The Tigers were impressive in dismissing Boys Town CC by an innings and 4 runs at Sabina Park. KCC made 284 for 6 declared on the opening day, and this on the back of an unbeaten 56 from Fraser himself. Nicola McKenzie weighed in with an unbeaten 50 and Javon Buchanan 43 against Dawit Morgan, 4 wickets. In response, Boys Town made 139 for 9, with Shaquille Greenwood retiring hurt on 53. Acts to follow on, Boys Town were bowled out for 141 in their second innings, with Stephen Pink top scoring with 64 not out. Patrick Harty picked up 5 wickets and 7 in the game. Fraser says given the competitive nature of the group, they were always targeting Boys Town for full points.
I think it was a very good effort. We got a good total on the board. I think it was a good opportunity for batters to get scores. Unfortunately, nobody in the top 5 or top 6 got past a half century. We got half centuries from number 7 and number 8, but that's what it is. It's a team sport, and it was a good collective effort. First outing of the season, I think 280 plus for 6. That is a good first innings total. This is the sort of fixture that we were targeting to get an outright win. When you look at the zone, no disrespect to Boys Town, they're a good team. But I think looking at the zone, the JDF and our team were the 2 teams that went to the finals last year, and only 1 team can advance from the zone. The winner of the zone that will advance, and probably the 2 best second place teams across 6 zones. So it's really competitive. So we have to give ourselves a chance to get the best possible outcome from this game, and that's an outright win.
Fraser says they're not worried about being the target of every team in the competition.
I don't think there were many nerves. We know that we have a target on our back this season, being the defending champions, being the team that won both competitions last year. But we have an experienced group. We have a number of players that are representing the Scorpions now, but we still have experienced players in the bunch now. We have about 4 or 5 players who have played first-class cricket representing us, and we really relied on them to show their experience and to bring their class to this outing, and we got that from them. So it's really about going out and executing. We have the skills and we have the ability, so it's just about getting the result that we want.
That's captain of the Kingston Cricket Club, Akeem Fraser. Meanwhile, last year's beaten finalists, the JDF, who are in the same group with Kingston CC, also got off to a strong start, beating St. Thomas by an innings and 128 runs. Final scores, JDF of 388 for 6 declared, St. Thomas 141 and 119. Other winners on the day, other winners of the round, they include Clarendon, Kensington, St. Mary, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and Melbourne. News of the IOC Executive Board's recommendation that boxing be included at the 2028 Olympic Games have been well received by the President of the Jamaica Boxing Board, Stephen Bomber Jones, and the JOA boss, Chris Samuda. The sport was not part of the initial program when it was announced in 2022, but last month World Boxing was given provisional recognition as a sport international governing body. The recommendation will still need to be approved by the ICC at the week's session in Greece. Samuda is confident that the recommendation will be approved.
Boxing as a combat sport is symbolic of the strength, resilience, and valor of the Olympic spirit and embodies the physical culture and traditional history of the games and movement. Yes, let the bouts begin. For several aspiring Olympic boxers, including our own, are waiting at ringside to go on the canvas in making their mark. The sport in the past year has taken body blows, but thankfully it was not TKO'd. It has lived to see another Olympic game. Let's not introduce sport politics into the decision. The executive board of the IOC has made the right decision in the interest of the Olympic movement, and I have no doubt that the members in session will approve.
Chris Samuda-Jones says it is of critical importance that boxing remains in the Olympics.
That is the highest platform for amateur boxers on which to represent the country, for the boxers to be recognized, and actually for them to give themselves a proper leg up for when they do well there and want to turn pro. So the announcement by the executive board of the IOC to propose that Olympic boxing be included in LA 2028 will be well received by the entire boxing fraternity worldwide.
Stephen Bomber-Jones is president of the Jamaica Boxing Board of Control. Wayne Ferron on the YouTube page. I understand why you asked that question. It's a big question, but I really couldn't help but bringing it. It's news, but I understand, yeah? All right, that will do it for your sports at this time.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:21.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is
28 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
For over 30 years, Chris and Charles has been financing your goals, dreams, creating your great moments. Celebrate the occasion with us. Borrow $1 million, pay less than $25,000 monthly, and get 30% off your processing fees. No guarantor needed. Call 876-920-4189 or WhatsApp 876-838-9028. Conditions apply. When you think loan, think Chris and Charles.
Come taste the beat with Tasty Cheese. This Easter we're back bigger and better. The Tasty team will be at St. William Grant Park in downtown Kingston, Saturday, March 8th from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Save the date and don't be late. Come vibe to some Tasty Beats. You could win prizes and
Attention motorists, it's time to switch to the T-Tag on Trans-Jam highways. Our automated T-Tag lanes reduce the cost of managing cash at our toll plazas. And drivers of Class 1 and 2 vehicles who use the T-Tag pay a lower toll fare than those who use the manually operated toll booths. They also get their 10th trip through any toll plaza free. The T-Tag makes it quicker, more cost efficient, and safer for our customers. So switch to the T-Tag today and experience the convenience. T-Tag packages are discounted to only $1,500, including a $500 toll credit from now until March 31st.
Plug into the sun with Peak Energy Solutions. We are your affordable provider for everything solar. Grid tie or off-grid solar P systems, solar air conditioners, panels, lithium batteries, solar supplies, and installation. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hills, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Dairy Cottage Industry Symposium at the Kendall Camp Conference Centre in Mandeville, Manchester, Wednesday, March 19, 2025. Join experts and innovators as they share insights on sustainable practices, new trends, and growing your business. It's the perfect event for farmers, producers, and entrepreneurs alike. Mark your calendar. This is one symposium you can't afford to miss. So tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Dairy Cottage Industry Symposium at Kendall Camp Conference Centre in Mandeville, Wednesday, March 19. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Jamaica Dairy Development Board.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. It's a Monday evening. I'm Robianne Williams. A special shout out to those of you who are on our YouTube platform. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. We ask you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. Budget debate 2025 continues. Now, last Tuesday, March 11, the country's first female Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Favour Williams, she opened the budget debates for the 2025-26 fiscal year in the House of Representatives. We heard from opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson last Thursday. Opposition leader Mark Golding will speak on Tuesday, March 18, that's tomorrow. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness will make his contribution to the debates on Thursday, March 20. Then Minister Williams will then close the debate on Tuesday, March 25. So in Public Opinion this evening, we're asking, what are you expecting from Mark Golding's budget presentation on Tuesday? I'll go again. What is it you're expecting from Mark Golding's budget presentation on Tuesday? Let us know what you think will happen, some of the policies he may outline. Let's see. To the comments I go on our X platform. President says a lot of talk about integrity, a lot of talk about cushioning the blow for poor people, a lot of talk without dollar figures. Yeah? Bunny Williams says possibly Andrew Holness's statutory certification and a bag of unimplementable promises to give voters the heavens and earth for free. All right. Davian saying just to tell the country how they love the poor. Let me see. Prior Warrior says regurgitating what Julian Robinson said. And G55 says more cussing. Yeah. On our Instagram platform, Rosemary is saying, let's wait and see. I'm sure you'll be speechless after. Father Lush says, I'm expecting something fantastic. Yeah. Let me see if I can get in some more. Queen Minnie saying, I would love a detailed presentation about the funding, where it's coming from, how the cap on water bill for persons 65 and over will work. As a matter of fact, an itemized list of who will benefit, how much will be spent, and where will the money be coming from. Yeah. Let me see if I can get in some more. Titch says Juliet Holness as Speaker of the House. All right. Feli Levi is saying unrealistic promises to the people. Yeah. Zoe School is saying criticism and pipe dreams. Portland Goat saying blame game and some unrealistic plans. Hey, it's Lady Cutchinson is saying no expectations, promise without details. All right, let me see if I can get in some more. Observer Objective is saying, I'm expecting Mark Golding to furnish Jamaicans with the cost to taxpayers for the PNP's proposals and how these proposals will be funded without affecting ministries and our projects already started or is about to start. Yeah. Release the Kroll report says all the good things. One Mark Golding. Let me see if I can get some more. Jet Slate is saying garbage. Wow. All right. Let me see what's happening on our Facebook platform. What are you expecting from Mark Golding's budget presentation on Tuesday? Ella Rita saying I won't be wasting my time. Salome Paul saying that his speech will be in two parts. Firstly, he will attack the PM on how his statutory declarations cannot be certified. Second, he will present some lofty ideas which will not be properly thought out. Isaac Oniware says, I expect a campaign speech budget presentation. He's going to throw dirty in everything. Let me see if I can get some more. Cop King says he's going to talk about illicit aid, IC report, and SSL. Yeah. For Jermaine Donovan, he's saying I expect him to not mention a word about the 2 million income tax threshold. Let me see if I can get in some more. All right, let me go on over to our YouTube platform. What are you expecting from Opposition Leader Mark Golding's budget presentation on Tuesday? Let me see. Lil Miss R says, IMGO announce. Wait, I missed that. Let me see if I can find it. IMGO announced 2020 and 2016 JLP manifesto. Presented that as his own. Wow. Let me see if I can get a few more. We expect him to say, time come. That's coming from Herman. Let me see if I can get in some more. Scrolling through. Mario Henry says, beer talk. Silly Billy Wallace says, nothing new. Yeah. Trying to sieve through a whole lot of comments coming in. Gary Peart says, I am expecting nothing from him. Yeah. Nothing that will encourage Jamaicans, Wilbert Davis says. Family Tab says, easy, time come. This is Carbonado. Yes, or Carbonado is saying, I expect to hear about the 3 million tax threshold he promised. Also a lot of incorrect figures. Yeah. Let me see. Promises and whatever. Okay. Wow. A lot of comments coming in, but I am hesitant to read them because my YouTubers, we the people. All right, let me see if I can get some on our Facebook platform. Philly Harvest says, all the reasons why time come now for fresh, transformational and visionary leadership for Jamaica. Delroy Murdoch says, I expect him to tell the country how he will implement the 3 million threshold he proposed. Shins for Life says, absolutely nothing but politicking. All right. $3 million threshold and couscous, says Edney Powell. Anthony Williams on our YouTube says, something for the poor. For Errol Murray, he says that he's expecting nothing much. Himself labor writer steal ideas. Okay. All right. Well, that's the time for Public Opinion. Thank you guys so much for participating this evening. Up next, the Business Report.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:32. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robian Williams. Jamaica's point-to-point inflation rate continues to fall. According to data from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, point-to-point inflation for the month of February fell to 4.4%. That's down 4.7% compared to the month of January. This means inflation has remained firmly anchored within the Bank of Jamaica's target range of 4 to 6% for the sixth month in a row. The rate was mainly influenced by the rate for the division's food and non-alcoholic beverages, housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels, and restaurants and accommodation services. Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ is advising income tax filers that the deadline to file final income tax returns for 2024 and estimated returns for 2025 has been extended to Tuesday, March 18, 2025. That's tomorrow. This means that all companies, partnerships, self-employed individuals, employed individuals with other sources of income, and all other categories of income tax filers must file their returns by 11:59 p.m. on March 18 to avoid interest and penalties. Now, all income tax returners, TAJ says, must be filed online via its website. That's its online tax portal, rather, at www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. The extension also applies to all tax returns that would have been due today, March 17, such as assets tax. Additionally, taxpayers are reminded that the deadline for the February SO1 statutory deductions, that is, as well as all taxes that would have been due on March 14, was also extended to Tuesday, March 18, 2025. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 157 Jamaican dollars and 43 cents to buy $1 US, 201 Jamaican dollars and 3 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 110 Jamaican dollars and 3 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Pedestrians, stay alert. Keep your head up and stay off the phone while crossing the road. Don't be a distracted walker. Every step matters. Look out before you step out. A message from the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport.
It's tax season. Time to reach for your checkbook or dole out the cash. Or maybe not. Discover an easier way to pay your taxes. Use your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. You'll get a 1-month payment holiday, up to 55 days interest-free, and unlimited rewards points on every dollar you spend. Discover how easy and convenient it is to pay your taxes with your Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card. Don't have a Sagicor Bank Business Credit Card? Visit Sagicor.com to apply for yours today. Conditions apply.
We are the best at what we do. At Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, we supply hose fittings and tools. We guarantee we can't be beaten when price and quality are combined. You brand us the Hose and Tool Boss because we deliver the most effective industrial solutions. Come in and experience the joy of shopping with Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. Call us 876-923-3936 or visit 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent or Montego Bay Trade Center. Hose Assembly and Supply Limited. More than just hoses. Now open every Sunday.
Coveside Concert Series presents Timeless. It happens on March 29 at Plantation Cove, St. Anne. Featuring international superstar Dionne Warwick and more stars Myrna Hague, Queen Marcia Griffiths, and Dwayne Stevens. Timeless, March 29. Showtime is 8 p.m. and tickets are now available at Fesco, Fontana Pharmacy, Plantation Smokehouse, and online at coveside.aitix.com.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business is...
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
It's Monday, get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The E-Zone is here for you. With this thing, Honeybee.
And Karim Boyatings
From 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. Why you said?
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezoneblindates@gmail.com. That's ezoneblindates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions. Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the nation's business. I'm Ricardo Brooks. We're turning our attention to what's expected to unfold in the House of Representatives tomorrow. Mark Golding, the opposition leader, will make his contribution to the budget debate. This, of course, follows his Shadow Minister of Finance's presentation last Thursday. During that presentation, Mr. Robinson pledged that a future PNP government will extend the amount of time tertiary graduates have before they are required to start repaying their loans from the Students' Loan Bureau. He also pledged to introduce a flat rate for the bills of senior citizens who are customers of the National Water Commission, the NWC. The opposition leader's contribution to the budget last year was marred, you'd recall, after all government members walked out of the House of Representatives. This was in reaction to what they felt was Mr. Golding's incendiary comment about the House Speaker Juliet Holness and her elevation to that role. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was the first to leave the chamber then, followed by several members on the government benches.
There was also a verbal clash between members on opposing sides as opposition MPs shouted, "Go, go, go." It was Government MP Everald Warmington who returned to the chamber to inform the Deputy Speaker of the House, Heroy Clark, that he was duty-bound to adjourn the sitting due to the lack of a quorum.
The PNP only has 14 MPs and the standing orders require at least 17 members to be present in the chamber for a sitting of the House to continue. Mr. Clark was forced to end the proceedings after the 5 minutes had elapsed as government members failed to re-emerge.
Well, what should we expect from Mark Golding tomorrow, Tuesday?
For that discussion, we're being joined by political commentator Dr. Nadine Spence. We also have with us lecturer in economics at the University of the West Indies, Mona, Dr. Samuel Brathwaite. Good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Sir Cliff.
Good evening, Dr. Brathwaite.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Let me begin with the political commentator before I go to the economist. Dr. Spence, what is the political hurdle Mark Golding will have to overcome tomorrow?
He's losing popularity. I think people find him contentious, and his style of politics, I don't think Jamaicans are appreciative of the combative, confrontational, quarrelsome politician anymore. So I think because he's losing popularity and because he comes across as being so combative and quarrelsome, people find it hard to listen to him. That's one. I think the other thing is people expect that he's going to come with a quarrel. He's going to come with offensive politics. He's going to try and anger the PM and anger the government. And so, I don't know. I think he's going... I would love for him to calm down and present a studied presentation that I'm sure you've heard a lot of people talking about, how do they fund the plans that they have put forward and that Julian spoke about? Mm-hmm. How do they demonstrate that they have an understanding of where we are financially and economically, and how do they not compromise that, given that they are coming from a situation where people believe that they are not the most fiscally prudent people. Mm-hmm. So I think he's. I don't know. Mark Golding can be Mark Golding on the political platform, or the Mark Golding that we know as Minister of Justice. Mm. I would want to see the Mark Golding as Minister of Justice, but I'm not sure he feels that this moment of his political career is asking for him to be that person. So I think we might see the Mark Golding who likes to cause an offense and cause a quarrel.
Dr. Brathwaite, coming on the heels of the fiscal commissioner describing the government's budget as credible and achievable, I think was the word he used, what wiggle room does an opposition leader have to cast himself as being able to do a better job?
Thank you for having me here, Ricardo. I think it is best to answer the question by going back to first principles. What do I mean by that? Whenever I teach students, especially undergraduates, economics, the first thing I ask them is, what is economics? Could you put economics into one word? Now, if I were to ask that very question to the man in the street, I think I will get things like, okay, money. Money might be a popular response as that one word. But the one word I like is choice. Economics is about choice, about decision making. Yes? If I'm to give a very popular definition, economics is a science of making decisions, yes, in an environment where we have so many wants but limited resources. Yes? So when we think of the budget, and especially a budget in a country like Jamaica, a small island developing state, you have so many things that need fixing, but you only have so much by way of funds, whether it's in revenues. Sorry?
Dr. Brathwaite, we have a choice to make because of economics. We need to take a break. Stay with us, please.
This time signal is sponsored by Janet Global Accreditation, an agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. The time is now
14 minutes to 7. We're back with you, Dr. Brathwaite.
Yes, so to continue. Yes, so economics is about making decisions. We have unlimited wants, but we have limited resources. So we have to make a call as to, okay, we're going to take A instead of B or C. All right? So when we look at Jamaica or any developing country, yes, there's so many things that needs fixing. So when we look at the budget presented by the finance minister, given where Jamaica has come over the last decade or so, the economy is stable. Good. The government has been fiscally prudent. Yes? And so the finance minister was able to take a balanced approach and say, okay, we can do various things. And we know the details. I don't need to go into them. Yes? But I'll tell you what. The opposition leader is in a good position, I think, right now. Why do I say that? Sir Hughes, you're a man who loves cricket. Julian Robinson did an excellent job last week of, facing the heat of the pace, bowling, if you want to call it that. All right? So now, Mark Golding is going out there to bat. And he should be comfortable. He needs to forget about all the bad press Dr. Spence would have laid out, how things are bad for him, he's losing ground and what have you politically. But Julian Robinson has given him a chance to come out tomorrow and just to play comfortably. Now, what does he have to do? When we think about an economy and we think about budgets and what have you, personally, I'm not a fan of this annual exercise of going through budgets and what have you. It's necessary, but I'm not a fan of it. It doesn't excite me. So what I would love to hear from the opposition leader tomorrow is something akin to a 5-year plan. To say, okay, the Jamaican economy is stable. Here is what a future PNP government will do to move the economy forward. Yes? Here is what a future PNP government will do to... We hear a lot about increasing productivity, crime reduction, education, health, you see. So I am confident that he has enough to speak to. But again, going back to what Dr. Spence said a while ago, he just has to be relaxed and not to be as combative, you know. So that would be my opening remarks in terms of what to expect, broadly speaking. I hope that was clear.
Yes.
Dr. Spence, given what we heard, the point made by Ricardo from the Fiscal Commissioner today, Courtney Williams, yes? Tonight, as Mark Golding puts the finishing touches to that budget presentation, which could be a make or break moment for him, he's going into a general election, and as you point out, his leadership is under scrutiny for a long time now, 4 years into the job, and a significant slice of the Jamaican population just haven't made up their minds about him. They don't know whether they like him or dislike him or he's fit for the job. I put it to you, tomorrow he'll have to convince them that he's ready to be their prime minister, isn't it?
He will. And there's something he will have to demonstrate what it is to look prime ministerial, to speak in a prime ministerial manner, and to command the respect of the nation, not just the people on his side, his core followers, but the people who are skeptical and who perhaps started off feeling that perhaps he could make a difference, but have since come to recognize that he brings with him a certain kind of politics that Jamaicans of a certain age and are skeptical about and are afraid of, and have taught their children to be skeptical about and be afraid of. And I don't think Mark Golding gets that. He doesn't get that for a lot of Jamaicans there's a dark history about politics that makes them very scared of the excessive posturing that looks like aggression. And not, you know what I keep thinking about, Cliff? I don't know if who was it that rode into Halfway Tree on a bike? Was it Omar Davis? Omar Davis, I think there was some election day stunt with, was it Omar or somebody who was at a rally in Halfway Tree on a bike. And when he rode in on the bike, everybody knew he just didn't fit the bike. You know, he didn't look like he belonged on the bike. It's Mark Golding, and the way he speaks don't fit. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't come across as authentic. Mm. And the more he speaks in the way he does on the campaign trail, the more he turns people off. I think tomorrow he has to be careful about how he speaks. Mm-hmm. The tempo of his voice, what he says, he has to be careful, because people are turned off every time he goes on the platform and he speaks. I hear more and more people saying they cannot stand to listen to him. Mm-hmm. He has to ensure that his authenticity finds a way to come across tomorrow, that he connects with people, mm-hmm. And that he speaks not just in a combative way, that he speaks in a way that suggests that he has a plan. Remember, Jamaicans are also very skeptical about the PNP's plan and its call to action time come now, because to them there is no real action behind it. And I agree with Dr. Brathwaite. Mm-hmm. Julian Robinson laid out a plan last week, but it was not a complete plan.
Yes, it was devoid of the numbers.
Right. He needs to come now and speak to the costing of that plan and how the plan works with where we are as a country fiscally. How does this plan not put us in jeopardy? There are some people who feel as if this plan is not a viable one. How do you convince them that this is a viable plan? I think if he doesn't do that, if he doesn't tone down, if he goes in with too much combative rhetoric, if he causes too much controversy again, he is going to further find himself on the back foot.
But Dr. Spence and Dr. Brathwaite, I don't believe Mr. Golding tomorrow will necessarily think his primary audience is myself, Cliff, Dr. Spence, and Dr. Brathwaite.
I agree.
I think he thinks that this might be one of the largest platforms he will have before that appointed date. And so he needs to speak to those who will make up the largest segment of his voting population. So I'm not as hopeful as you three that he will, as you put it, Dr. Spence, tone down?
Ricardo, if I may jump in,
Yes.
I agree with you. And as Dr. Spence was making her previous comment, that's exactly what was going through my mind, in that this is a political stage he's on. Yes?
Yes.
So he has to speak to his constituents. But I do agree with her that he needs to be a little more authentic. He can speak the Queen's English and probably be more effective than trying, the patois thing, which I'm not Jamaican, as you all know.
Yes.
But, I can tell it comes over,
It doesn't land well.
Dr.
It doesn't align
Brathwaite,
well.
Dr. Brathwaite.
But I tell you...
Just a moment, Dr. Brathwaite, because on that very issue, Mark Golding rose to the level he rose to before becoming PNP president by speaking the Queen's English. He never had this inauthentic patois mix up with standard English right up until his election. He never had it. It was after he assumed this way of speaking, trying to connect. And I think he has been making a serious mistake in pursuing that road, because Jamaicans see through it immediately. That's not how he sounded. That was not Mark Golding, who won widespread respect for his job as Minister of Justice in the Simpson Miller administration. He didn't. He adopted that after he became PNP president. Certainly
Point
publicly.
taken, but might I say something else?
Sure.
I'll tell you one of my main concerns. Like I said before, I think he's in a good position based on what Julian Robinson did last week. But the main problem I have with the PNP at this time is that we do not have a document, a manifesto. I hear time and time again from, people like Crawford, and by the way, I like Crawford as a politician, but I hear this narrative about, we don't want the other side to steal our ideas. That is something I don't buy. You see, I would be happy if I were a politician and I produce a manifesto and the other party were to take that, whatever plans I have, and they implement it. I would be happy, because guess who benefits? The people of Jamaica. So I think where the PNP has fallen down over the last few months or so is not producing a manifesto. They should be fighting to be the first out of the gates to present to the Jamaican people across all sectors, right, and all demographics in society. Here is our plan. Yes? Of course, when the opposition leader goes into Parliament, as Ricardo rightly said, he wants to speak to a broad majority of Jamaicans. So the finer details that, the experts would want to hear is not what he will necessarily communicate there. However, in a manifesto document, that is where you can get into the granular details of how you're going to fund things and what you're going to do. And I think the PNP has fallen short by not producing such a document at this time. That's just my opinion.
Right, and I've heard that opinion before, Dr. Brathwaite. But and so the PNP, their response to that is, look, if indeed the government takes our ideas and they implement our ideas, we don't get the credit, and we're trying to win political power, and there's no prize for second place. If you lose, you lose. So are we being unfair to them by not taking that into consideration? That if they put those ideas out, somebody else implements them, they don't get the credit?
Well, the truth of it, last week when I heard the government talk about the SLB thing, I said, you know how long I've been saying that? I mean, ideas are not confined to a particular space and a particular set of people, and we don't know if our ideas are truly held by us alone, right? And so when you live in a space where there's conversation and people are talking and people are sharing ideas, you have to be careful when you make that assertion that people are stealing your ideas. You really have to be. That's one. I think the second thing is that the PNP, what we haven't mentioned, is it has a huge hurdle to overcome in respect of its own continuing internal struggles. And so a lot of what is out there about how the PNP organizes itself, whether or not it's truly united at this point, is coming from PNP insiders or former insiders. And the politics, its internal politics, they haven't played so very well. So not only does it have to overcome facing a government that, has been managing the economy in a very steady and reliable manner, and a prime minister who looks assuring to people, and who doesn't fly off the handle, and who looks like you can rely on him, it's looking more and more like that as we grow closer to the election day. He also has to deal with whatever is going on around him and the people around him who also are drawing away from the focus of winning an election. Yeah? So the question that you ask, Ricardo, is relevant. How does he stay on point? Is he going to resist the urge to fly off the handle and look unstable, which is how he's been looking of late? And we remember the last meeting in where was it?
Connecticut.
In Connecticut, where people saw his pronunciation as a concession speech.
Hold it there for us. Hold it there for us, ladies and gentlemen. We're up on our next break.
Jamaica's Spark program is investing $45 billion to improve roads, water, and telecom. Better infrastructure for a better future. The time by Spark is...
A minute after 7. Thank you so much for staying with us. We have with us political commentator Dr. Nadine Spence and lecturer in the Department of Economics at the University of the West Indies, Mona, Dr. Samuel Brathwaite. Gentlemen, we're out of time, so I'm going to give you, Dr. Brathwaite, your final bit of advice. Mr. Golding might be making the final touches now. Your final bit of advice to him.
Final bit of advice is to simply present to the Jamaican people a 5-year plan as to what if a future PNP government would do to ensure that there is economic development or human development, significant human development over the next 5 years or so.
Dr. Spence?
Resist the urge to fly off the handle and be inauthentic.
All right. I think we should have both of you back after Mr. Golding
tomorrow
has concluded, and we'll see how well he did. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the night.
You too.
I think it's difficult but doable. Yeah, if he can somehow recapture, that authentic Mark Golding, who earned the respect of a lot of Jamaicans when he entered the cabinet and became the Minister of Justice. He was diligent. He was a good Minister of Justice. I remember him doing the hard, heavy lifting to get those pieces of legislation
to the floor
ready.
of the Parliament.
To the floor of the Parliament.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was diligent. And I think that is what propelled him into the consciousness of Jamaicans when the PNP was trying to find a new leader.
And I tell you something, Cliff. I think the PNP has, well, certainly as it relates to the last two leaders, had a problem with marketing their leaders. For example, and I think it in some way it's to Andrew Holness's credit, because how you oppose Andrew Holness has been a spot of bother for not only Mark Golding, but it also was for Dr. Peter Phillips. I recall the PNP had Dr. Phillips on social media, in the gym, for example, doing sit-ups. And I said to myself, this is the man who we credited at the time for doing a good job. Yeah? Steering down the IMF. Yes. Why is that not what you lead with? Why you have him on the ground doing sit-ups? And then Mark Golding, as you rightly said, did a good job as Justice Minister.
Yeah.
Why, as leader of the PNP, did you not lead with that? Why were you leading with Ayman Irie, Ayman Sibugs Panikana, Ayman, I gotta make sure it's a book's life good?
Yeah.
What is that? It never made sense to me. It still doesn't make any sense to me. And I think they are confounded, befuddled by the connection Wholeness has. And they're trying to match it. And I don't think they're going about it the correct way.
You know, I keep on hearing in my ears a senior PNP politician saying to me that, listen, I am concerned that we do not have the experience at the top of the leadership of the party today to take us through, the intensity of an election campaign, and that Wholeness was going to run a better campaign, better financed, better organized, and that's where he was worried that they would not be able to stand up under the pressure, and I think you're seeing that now. The People's National Party, the triumvirate of Campbell, Golding, Bunting, have not been able to sustain what they developed in 2023 because they took their eyes off the key, for an opposition facing a government 10 years in. What are you going to do for the people? They did not focus on making sure they have an alternative, so that you can say to Dr. Brathwaite is right. It should be the PNP who is now having the initiative in terms of policy ideas. 1, 2, 3. Now they're now on the back foot, having to respond to Wholeness.
And I tell you something, my reading of the history books tells me in 1988-89, Michael Manley, before he came back to power, his PNP was very successful at organizing and mobilizing around ideas across the country.
Yes.
And that helped at the time.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
All right, it's 6 minutes after 7. We're going to go to the Eastern Caribbean Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. There's a new Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago this evening.
Stuart Young.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my multi-link?
Need property sales data for Jamaica? Use the National Land Agency's Jamaica Property Sales Data JAMPROP application to assist you with information regarding the transfer of registered titles, registered mortgages, as well as sale prices of properties. To register for JAMPROP, all you need is internet access. For more information, contact the National Land Agency at 876-750-5263 or visit nla.gov.jm. The National Land Agency. One agency, one goal to serve you better.
The NWC's bill-free promotion is here. Be one of 350 persons to get $20,000 water credit when you pay your bill in full every month until March 31, 2025. And there's more. Oh yes, you can win $300,000, $200,000 or $100,000 cash in the NWC's bill-free promotion if you register for e-bill and pay your bill in full every month until March 31. Conditions apply. Visit nwcjamaica.com for details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act, a part of the NWC's bucket full of goodies.
And everybody, let me hear ya. Me have to ask, why eat other snacks when sunshine has the best for you? Nature's best buns are crunchy. The flavor that sings to you, salted banana and plantain. Taste the freshness, naturally sweet. The flavor that sings to you.
Ayo, nature's best bunch.
Thank you so much for staying with us. There is a new Prime Minister in CARICOM. He hails from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Stuart Young. He was sworn in at a ceremony at the President's house today.
I, Stuart Richard Young, do swear by Almighty God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Trinidad and Tobago and will uphold the Constitution and the law, that I will conscientiously and impartially and to the best of my ability discharge my duties as Prime Minister and do right to all manner of people without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
Stuart Young, Trinidad and Tobago's 8th Prime Minister, after being sworn in this morning. He succeeds Dr. Keith Rowley. Young is also the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries. He says his administration will put people first.
This is my commitment to you. I will lead with integrity, inclusion, and accountability. We will harness our unique strengths, diversity, and aspirations to build a future where every citizen has the opportunity to thrive. We will put aside differences, leverage our collective experiences and expertise, and champion the necessary reforms to transform and strengthen our nation and uplift our people. I will work together with you across Trinidad and Tobago, with each and every citizen on the way forward.
Stuart Young there, the new Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Also on Monday, Camille Robinson Regis was sworn in as Trinidad's Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs. Robinson Regis is the 4th woman to be appointed Attorney General in the Twin Island Republic.
Joining us now to look at the outgoing Prime Minister's tenure and legacy, if any, and the expectations of Mr. Young. We have with us Professor of Constitutional Affairs and Parliamentary Studies at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine Campus, Hamid Ghani. Hamid Ghani is also Honorary Professor at the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies, Salisees.
We also have with us Head of the Department of Political Science at the University of the West Indies, also at the St. Augustine Campus, Dr. Indira Rampasad. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Let me begin with you, Dr. Indira Rampasad. For our Jamaican listeners who don't know about Stuart Young, who is this man? Tell us a little bit about his political history and career so far.
So he came in 2014. That gives him about 10 years of service, just over 10 years of service, about 10 years. The PNM had won election in 2015 and 2020, so he would have served 2 terms, and he was in the office of the Prime Minister and a Minister of Energy at one point. So he acted, I believe, as Attorney General at times. He has a background in law, pretty much middle class. I think the family, has a business background as well. So some say he's a new kid in the block compared to some of the other PNM ministers and MPs there. But relatively young, I would say, no pun intended with his name.
And his ascension to the highest, second highest office in Trinidad and Tobago, how is that going down on the ground? Because Kamla Persad-Bissessar has been gunning for an election. She says the PNM has been an absolute failure, and it's time, I've heard her say, to restore order and good governance to Trinidad. How is his ascension going down?
So it's unprecedented the way he has been anointed as Prime Minister. Professor Ghani's written and spoken a lot about this. Unprecedented in the sense that it's always been the political leader of the party to assume the office of the Prime Minister in accordance with sections 76, 1A and B. But there are other provisions in the Constitution which allow for the appointment by the President and gives the President wide discretion, and I think that is what they use. So the population, I think some might be confused somewhat that we have a prime minister today that is not a political leader when that is the tradition. And so it deviates from established practices, though it may not be illegal. I'm also an attorney at law. Dr. Ghani is a constitutional expert.
But
It may not be illegal per se, but certainly I think you want to bring in Dr. Ghani here.
Yes. Professor Ghani, help us here. Who is the political leader, and what happened with the rise that gave rise to Stuart Young?
Well, Dr. Rowley is still the political leader of the PNM, and he has remained that. What has happened here is that, unlike some other constitutions in the Eastern Caribbean and other parts of the Caribbean, where the Prime Minister is to be the member of the House who commands the support of a majority of MPs.
As it is in
Trinidad and
Jamaica.
Tobago, pardon?
As it is in Jamaica, here in Jamaica.
Yes, and likewise in Barbados. What you have in Trinidad and Tobago is a section that says that the Prime Minister shall be the leader in the House of the party that has a majority of seats, and words to that effect. And that phrase, leader in the House of the party, my own view is that we're talking about the political leader of the party. There is another view that says if the party caucus comes together, the MPs of that party come together in a majority, and they send a letter to the president saying that they recognize Mr. X or Ms. Y or whoever as their leader, that person is leader in the House of the party. So I was on one side. I started a debate on this on the 2nd of February in my Sunday Guardian column. And then during the course of February, there was a back and forth with other persons. And this was tossed around a bit. And today, after the appointment, the president put out a statement in which she gave reasons as to how she arrived at her conclusion. Now, the approach that was adopted clearly deviates from the conventions in parliamentary systems, where you become political leader of the party first, and on the basis of that, you are appointed prime minister. Here, they went a different route, and my concern really is whether we've established a precedent for the future, whereby any future party that has a majority of MPs, a majority within that majority may come together, sign a letter saying that we recognize someone else as our leader in the House of the party, and take that to the president to seek a removal. That my concern was that a dangerous precedent was being set for a method of removal not spelled out in the Constitution.
So if I could just follow up, Professor Ghani, because I've seen where the opposition leader has threatened a lawsuit because she's a senior counsel, and I understand she's saying that she doesn't believe that this method is in keeping with the text of the Constitution. So you're saying, in your view, you're saying she may have a case?
Well, she started raising this matter after I had raised it. So I think that if she's going down that track, then there is an argument to be pursued. The president's statement is saying that there was a vacancy in the office because there are two conditions for holding the office of Prime Minister in Trinidad. The first is these are the ones about majority of MPs and leader in the House and all of that. And the second one is, and who is willing to accept the office of Prime Minister. So that Dr. Rowley resigned on the basis that he was no longer willing to accept the office of Prime Minister. But he remains as political leader of the party. So that is where the disagreement has arisen as to whether or not he has properly vacated the office, having, regard to the fact that there are two conditions. The president's argument seems to be that one of the conditions having been vacated, namely the unwillingness to serve, created a vacancy and she was required to fill it. The fact that he was insisting on remaining as party leader created a bit of a conundrum, and she has gone down the route of making the appointment on the basis that the party caucus came together and arrived at a unanimous position to have Stuart Young as Prime Minister on the basis of the caucus seeing him to be their leader in the House of the party, while Dr. Rowley, who is the political leader of the party, is also sitting in the House. So that there is, some differences of opinion with regard to who is the leader that the Constitution is referring to.
But Dr. Rampersad, this one is for you. Given my understanding and knowledge of politics, what is motivating this move by Rowley and the PNM? What is the real reason?
Well, there can be a number of them, but they would be mainly speculation. One never knows. This is a question of analysis purely. What can possibly be the motivation? So there are a number of reasons have been proffered. One, some would argue that he was afraid to face the polls, and that he was certain he was going to lose, in the wake of a spate of crime, escalating crime, murders, homicide, home invasions, property tax, foreign exchange crisis, a series of economic woes as well, and the dragon gas deals, which doesn't seem to be coming to fruition. So I think rising unpopularity of Dr. Rowley may have triggered his desire to demit before an election, or rather run for a general election, and have an interim prime minister just before a general election, a situation which is pretty much unprecedented here in Trinidad, and like I said, caused some consternation amongst the population. The others that think the business sector, the local business sector in Trinidad, may have called him in and asked him to step down, given their growing unpopularity and the issues with the economy. Some of them being financials of the party. And then there is also rumors of, external intervention by the new Trump government, especially with regard to his relationship with Maduro and the dragon gas deals. Again, all of this is speculation because we don't have the evidence or the proof to support them. But certainly all was not well in politics. To trigger this unprecedented move, it came in the wake of a spate of murders over the Christmas break towards the new year, start of the new year. And it also came with a state of emergency being announced at the end of the last year, 2024, I think 30th of December. So Dr. Rowley's surprised the population. He claims that this was always his intention. He even wanted to leave in 2020, but he remained to see us through the COVID pandemic. I think the population, or part thereof, is really doubtful, dubious about that. So one cannot really understand fully the move, which is strange in terms of what is the precedent and what has traditionally obtained. So I don't know if Professor Ghani has any ideas as to what could have really triggered the unprecedented move.
Yeah, and Professor Ghani, I wanted to go back to the statement from the President Kangaloo, because she was an active PNM politician when appointed president, and I wondered if in Trinidad and Tobago, so here in Jamaica, we have a Governor General who is largely seen as above politics. So if he were to make an intervention in a hotly political matter, usually the society would accept such a decision. But how are Trinidadians taking that she was a PNM politician? You have this unprecedented situation where the party leader is opting or electing to remain as party leader while another person serves as prime minister. Is the legitimacy of her intervention called into question in a situation like this?
Well, she had to intervene because it fell in her lap. The resignation letter, went to her, and the office was going to be vacant. So she had to act. Obviously, there's been a lot of debate as to whether or not, there could have been another way, or she could have intervened differently. I think that her style of intervention was passive. She accepted the fact that there was nothing else that she could do as long as Dr. Rowley insisted on retaining the post of political leader, and he was no longer willing to accept the office. So in many respects, Dr. Rowley put her in a bind, and she had to decide what she was going to do. Whether there is some kind of interpretation summons or some kind of challenge to find out whether she acted procedurally correct or not. It's a matter of whether it will go to court or not. I don't know. Dr. Rowley's insistence on being political leader meant that he remained as the chairman of the screening committee of the PNM. So he directed and controlled the screening of all 41 candidates for the next general election, including his own replacement as a candidate. And he also engineered the shepherding of former Minister Young into the office of Prime Minister. Now, many of the persons who were chosen were incumbents who wanted to go back for election. And the first ballot that was taken, it was a split of 11-9. So the caucus was deeply divided. And then subsequently there was, internal backroom stuff that goes on in politics that we're all familiar with. And then he just added his one vote to the 20 to make 21 of 41. And they all signed a letter and so on. But I think that, in many respects, they would have been under pressure, primarily because they all want to go back and contest their seats. Again, many of them. So I think that, he had that control by staying on as the leader. He controlled the process of selecting candidates.
But where does that leave?
Many of the incumbents are going back for election, so we don't know.
But where does that politically leave Stuart Young, your new Prime Minister? He's something of a not a lame duck, but a man without power.
Who leads the party into the election, the general election, due by November, I think?
That is a $64 million question, because it's a twin-headed leadership. He is the Prime Minister and Dr. Rowley is the political leader. And we saw last night there was a big rally in Woodford Square in Port of Spain to present the candidates of the PNM. And it was clear that Dr. Rowley overshadowed Stuart Young in terms of his stage presence and his bold delivery and
criticisms of the UK government,
and so on, which puts Young in a very kind of was in the shadow. So I think, but today he's put out a Facebook post saying that he's going to reconsider his position as leader and so on. And I don't know if he's going to gamble that if he steps down, the PNM has an internal process of one person, one vote of its membership, and they also have a runoff system. So that I suspect that there would have been more than two candidates, and the conventional wisdom was that Stuart Young would have run third and would have been eliminated in the first round, and the other two would have gone forward. In order to avert some of that, it was necessary for Dr. Rowley to do it this way. That's my opinion. That's my view as to why he did it this way.
Yes.
Because I'm not certain that Stuart Young would have been able to win the leadership of the PNM on a secret ballot among all party members, bearing in mind that the party has a runoff system.
Yes.
That if there's no one winning with 50% or more, the top two go forward to a runoff,
Yes.
and the others are eliminated.
So who are
there is a
other
lot.
contenders? Or who are the other two who would have likely finished first or
There
second?
was the Penelope Beckles, the Minister of Planning, was someone who did put forward her name in the caucus, and there was also some views that Mr. Foster Cummings, who is a minister in the cabinet and general secretary of the party, he would have been interested, as well as Mr. Faris Al-Rawi, who is the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government. So if you had a four-way race, it is possible that under the rules of the party, with the runoff system, there would have been an elimination of 2 out of 4, and the top 2 would have gone forward. So you see, if it is that was the reason for avoiding going that particular route and just having someone, have the party decide on its leader and then you walk away, Dr. Rowley chose not to walk away. He chose to stay on top of the process. So the candidate selection was going on parallel to the negotiations to get the caucus to agree to one person. And, in politics we can speculate all kinds of things when these things happen. But I think at the end of the day, Dr. Rowley having accomplished the mission of having Stuart Young put into position with the support of the caucus. We saw the cabinet appointed this afternoon. Not much change, just one or two changes here and there, and basically everyone has been reappointed back into their positions, so that there is no rocking of the boat, so to speak, on the eve of an election. And I think that it will be a very interesting situation, because the messaging challenge that Stuart Young has for the election is, am I going to separate myself from the Rowley legacy, or am I going to portray myself as a continuation of more of the same?
Right.
And I think he has that challenge.
And that would be my next question, Dr. Rampersad, because considering all the challenges you laid out, and as Professor Ghani said, what does he do? Does he separate or does he continue? Do you think the Trinidadian public, broadly speaking, would be willing to give Stuart Young his own mandate?
So we have to understand the Trinidadian public, especially the electorate. It's very divided. It's sharply divided along particularly ethnic lines. And so far we're seeing the ministers, at any rate, those that were reappointed today included, rallying around ostensibly. But I think once they have settled into the ministership and they've been given their seats, and there may be some reconsideration of all of this, because I can tell the fact that there was 9-11 and 9 against 11 for Stuart Young suggests that many were not happy with that arrangement. But like Professor Ghani said, they were very, very concerned about their own future in politics. Self-interest always play an important role in most of these kinds of decisions. They were very concerned. So the population rallying around him, I think there is deep concern about the manner in which he assumed office. I think that concern also extends not just to non-PNM supporters, but also to the PNM supporters. It does give the semblance of being undemocratic, to some extent unconstitutional, although that presidential route is in the Constitution. It's not a tradition, and I think a large section of the population today, whether they are supporters of the PNM or not, of all ethnicities, are somewhat uneasy. They're uncomfortable because it did not follow a truly democratic process. I also agree with Professor Ghani that had they taken this to an internal election, one man, one vote, which is the way the PNM had been going in recent times, and Prime Minister Stuart Young had run for that leadership position of the party, he may not have been successful. And I think this was the primary reason why Dr. Rowley appointed him the manner in which he did. What will happen thereafter, and whether those ministers, because some of them look visibly uncomfortable. For example, we saw Minister of Finance, former Minister of Finance, I should say, has been replaced today. He was not clapping. He was not at all clapping in that platform yesterday. They had a big rally at Woodford Square. Neither was the Minister of Education. Neither was even the new Attorney General. So I think she's been put there, and this was one of the surprises for me. She's not a practicing attorney, and that's fine. You don't have to be a practicing attorney to be an Attorney General, but you certainly have to be a kura with the law, and she never came across as a legal mind or a legal luminary, although she's an attorney. And so I think there's a lot of doubt in her capacity to perform that job as well. So that was really a surprise to me that she was put in that position, but I think ethnically she was placed there as an antidote to Stuart Young, to balance it off, so to speak, and to speak to the Afro base of the PNM that you have not been abandoned in terms of leadership.
When are the elections? When are the elections due by?
So it's August 20th, and 3 months, 90 days thereafter, to call it. Somewhat much more than in Jamaica, because I think you have 21 days or something, and 35 days in notice in advance have to be given. So,
and what are the polls saying, Dr.
There aren't many polls.
I haven't seen any
Nobody
polls.
doing official polls.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I don't know, Professor Gani know of any, but I don't know of any official polls.
I don't know of any polls. No, I haven't seen any.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a problem. We do have polling, a bit of polling in Trinidad and Tobago. We used to have the Ryan poll. He's gone. We had a simulation that went defunct. NACTA also not very active on the ground anymore. So we don't have any polls really for us to know. But the election date has not been
Blue
called.
Dot Republic.
Yeah, the surprise to me is that Dr. Rowley would continue to remain as political leader. Is he planning, the big question, to me the big question is, $1 million question, is he planning to lead the party into the next general election? What if they lose? Okay, what if they lose? Who would be the opposition leader? Because he would no longer have a seat. And in order to be a leader of the party, you must be an MP.
Yeah.
Okay, you must be an MP. And in order to be prime minister also, well, according to 76(1)(a) and (b), you should be a leader of the party. So, of the party that controls the majority in the House. So it's a whole big rigmarole mess, in my opinion. All is not well in politics today in Trinidad and Tobago. That I would say categorically.
Final word to you, Professor Ghani.
Yes, I think that the situation is one whereby we have to see if Dr. Rowley is going to stay on as leader of the party. He has fixed the date of the 28th of September for the party convention, which would suggest that one person, one vote has to be held before that. But Parliament will stand dissolved on the 27th of August, if not sooner dissolved. A budget has to be enacted before October 31st. So that all of these calculations have to go on. There's no parliament after August 27th, so there's no way that they can enact a budget during that period. So that I don't know how they're working it out. There's been talk of April 28th. That has been floated. But I don't know if Prime Minister Young is going to want to have a little more time in office. Just thinking of what is available to him if he spends 2 months again in office and then calls an election. He gets into June and July and that kind of thing, or does he go early? It's always a decision that has to be made when someone takes over in this manner. I mean, you had in your own case when Bruce Golding stepped down and Andrew Holness came in. He called an election about 2 months after and he lost the election. So it's a dilemma that a new prime minister coming in under these circumstances, what do they do? Do I go for my own mandate, or do I try to stick around a little longer and have the chance to create a record of my own? I mean, unlike Portia Simpson Miller in March 2006 taking over from P.J. Patterson, she waited until September of 2007, which is when the general election was held, and you had a hurricane that caused the election to be postponed a further week. So I think that it's always a decision to make. In her case, she decided to go the full distance. In Holness's case, after succeeding Golding, he decided to take it as an early one and try to seek an early mandate. It's always a rough decision, and in both instances, they both lost. So it's a decision that Young will have to take, and there are CARICOM experiences that precede Young with regard to this kind of decision making.
Thank you very much, Professor of Constitutional Affairs at UWI St. Augustine, Hamid Ghani, and Head of the Department of Political Science at St. Augustine, Dr. Indira Rampersad. Thank you very much for the perspectives.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Good.
Trinidad politics is unlike anything I've ever seen, No, have you ever, for example, read a statement from the opposition leader? Like as a normal media release?
Yes, her language.
And you say to yourself, what? You watch your parliamentary sittings?
Yes, from time to time.
My gosh. I don't know, their politics is odd. It is. No, it really is. And I don't know if it's because, as the professor said, it's so polar in terms of ethnicity. I don't know if that is it. But it's strange.
Yeah.
It's strange.
After the break, your calls. You know the numbers to call us, 630937124 or 618-8255.
Apply for your Sagicor Bank Preferred Prepaid MasterCard today. Load your remittances for everyday spending. Receive cash transfers from any local bank. The time by Sagicor Bank is
22 minutes to 8.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Growth versus development debate. Relative to its many assets, talented people, sun, sea, and sand, minerals like bauxite and gypsum, agricultural produce like Blue Mountain coffee, and the country's proximity to the world's richest markets in North America, Jamaica's economy may be the most underperforming in the world relative to its many assets. The medicine being prescribed by the doctor or economic planners has allowed the patient Jamaica to sit up in bed with the vitals functioning. But will the patient ever get up and walk? One thing that has made Jamaica's economy into the sick man of the world is the tendency to confuse development and growth. In an article titled Jamaica as a Development State, which appeared in the Friday, April 14, 2023 edition of The Gleaner, former Pro-Vice Chancellor of Graduate Studies and Research at the University of the West Indies and Professor of Anthropology at City University of New York, Don Robotham, wrote, I quote, "We must distinguish between growth and development. Growth is simply an increase in gross domestic product, GDP. Development, however, is the transformation of the production structure." End of quote. To put it another way, growth focuses on the quantity of life. Development focuses on the quality of life. Influenced by the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF, the governing party loves to boast about growth in the economy measured by GDP. But should they not also be placing emphasis on economic development that comes from investing in the country's human and social capital? By itself, GDP says little or nothing about the economic health of a nation. Professor Don Robotham in his Gleaner article shares information about Harvard's Economic Complexity Index, which he says attempts to measure the underlying fundamentals of an economy, not just the production of goods and services. In its latest ranking on the index, Jamaica came in at 83 out of 133 countries. Not good. There are measures, such as the Human Development Index, HDI, which also give a more balanced, if nuanced, assessment of the wealth and health of an economy. Jamaica's budget is skewed towards recurrent expenditure, with very little going to the capital side, such as investments in innovations in education, health, infrastructure, information technology, research, economic diversity, and inclusiveness. Not surprisingly, Jamaica perennially falls below the average HDI ranking for some 186 countries. Without the concomitant economic development, GDP growth inevitably leads to a more unequal society and unsustainable economy. The changing Kingston skyline, expensive cars on the streets, and high-end condos replacing single-dwelling houses are but a mirage of progress. It is not reflected in most people's standard of living. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
For generations, Jamaican families have trusted Imperial Optical to keep their vision clear and their style sharp. From their first eye exam to the latest in fashion frames, we've been there for every milestone, every moment, and every memory. Whether it's your child's first day at school or your grandparents' golden years, our care spans every age, every stage. Visit Imperial Optical today. Generations of care, generations of trust.
At Active Home Center, we've got everything you need to create that perfect spa retreat. From comfort height toilets to the widest selection in faucets and shower enclosures to stylish tubs and the latest trends in bathroom cabinets in various sizes. Our bathroom collection has the perfect fit for every space and every budget. Your relaxing retreat starts here. Visit our showroom in Kingston at 84 Compton Spring Road or Montego Bay at Barnett Tech Park. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Calling all tradesmen, small contractors, skilled workmen, and small entrepreneurs. Whether you want to start or expand your business or get equipment for your projects, Total Tools will help you tool up and expand your business. Get up to $500,000 to borrow, up to 2 years to repay, and interest rates as low as 3.99%. Come for your loan to get your tools. Offer ends June 2025. Visit Total Tools in Kingston, Ocho Rios, and Drex Hall to get a loan for every tool and every trade.
It's 15 minutes to 8 and we're taking your calls now. 630-9371-4 618-8255. Richie, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Ricardo.
How are you?
Good evening, man. Good evening, Cliff.
Absent.
No bother with that.
Him there, but him there.
You're there. Give thanks to there, but the one day Market G really here say, Mr. Warmington, Mr. Vaz, call upon him for to give us some fact that he wants to do a citizen. That's the thing here, you know. So I wonder if he's waiting until tomorrow to present that.
I think they told him to present it in the parliament, you know.
Eh?
I think they had said he should present it in the parliament. So maybe tomorrow he'll hold up the paper.
Exactly. That's the point. And me tell something, if he do that, he might put on some stripe, you know, brother.
It would be, yes, it would be an effective moment. If he does that, it would be an effective moment. I agree.
Very effective. But I'm different. But to me, you know, with my problem, what is my problem with him? Not problem. You know what I believe? Mm-hmm. For him to denounce it.
Renounce.
If he denounce, huh?
Renounce
it. And he will not get it back, you know. It was just normal like how one of us going over there. And if he denounce it and lose election, Otago, I don't very much that he denounce it, you know. So tomorrow is a big day for him to do it.
Yes.
And for them to keep saying that they're not going to tell us the plan that they have for the country. I can't believe it. And tomorrow is the day that they have to do it.
I mean, they've started. You heard some ideas from Julian Robinson, and I heard Senator Crawford fleshing out some of it. So they've started. I think Mr. Golding has to go the whole hog now. He has to really put meat on the bone, because Julian really said, you know, he was leaving the details, my interpretation of what he said, to Mr. Golding.
Yes, but the point, you know, him have to come with something better than what our finance, the JLP finance minister come with, you know.
Fair.
And it will be difficult for him because the first thing that he said, the first time that he come with, that they're going to put the budget on hold and give $40 billion to the people.
Boy, one thing we don't labor right now, they're not going to make him forget that, you know.
About
two cycles ago, him said that.
These things cannot be 9 day, 1 day, no man.
Yes.
You have to take stock of these things.
Yes, that's true.
Then
because it was a significant pledge. Yes.
Last day at the conference, he said that he's going to work on Mama B plan, tearing down the zinc fence and whatever. Mm-hmm. And we know what Mama B plan was. Mama people, I don't know. She would love the poor. And she loved the poor and she lose the election because she promised what she couldn't give. And that is something similar to giving the $40 billion to the people as well. So, I mean, to me, they wrote up ideas from there and they can't come with it. So that's why they keep telling people that they're not going to tell us. But tomorrow is the day that you have to tell us, you know.
All right, Richie, we'll be listening.
If you not tell us, he may not leave trouble and can resign. And in week two, you know, because Wilmington lick him and send him back in the right time and you can't see him nervous.
All right, Richie. You know, Mr. Wilmington is a comedian. You hear Shaheen last night sing God Save the King.
No?
Yes.
Where?
He was in central Manchester.
Oh?
And he broke out in singing God Save the King. He says, Sir Keir Starmer soon call him back. Aye. 630-937-124-618-8255. Faithful, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Ricardo.
How are you?
Good evening.
Your ambassador, the ambassador that you have on the TV, his son, that he very much want to get things done, and I was very impressed with deliberation to you this evening.
Yes.
It seemed to me like he's not so much to the cut.
No, it's she.
She sounded to me like she was not so much with the cut and just of the hardcore politics, but more intense of getting things done. And I was very, very impressed with her.
Yes.
I wish her the very best, and I hope she accomplished all that she set her mind to do. And I think if she do, Jamaica will be a better place.
I think one thing we can credit this Prime Minister for is his eye for talent.
True.
Identifying talent, new talent, fresh talent, and bringing them into the government, convincing them to serve in government. And so far, his choices have been solid additions.
And he's going further, you know, because what he's doing and has been doing over the last 9 years is to really change the Jamaica Labour Party into his own making. Remember, over the decades, the Labour Party has been very leader-centric. Yeah? Siaga stamped his own style on it and dominated it. Bruce Golding didn't stay long enough to do that. And Andrew Holness is now there for going a decade. And he has done that. He is doing that. So the party that is emerging will be Holness's party.
Yes.
And I hope the power play I hope that your power play that is playing receiver, I hope it work out.
What is that power play, Faithful?
The same one that you alluded to this morning. But I said no more on it. But I hope it work out.
Well, let us see.
Right. I think you very much need that person to fulfill his job.
Oh. Okay.
All
right, Faithful.
Carl, good evening.
Evening, Ricardo. Evening.
How are you?
All right, man. We are getting rain in the Clarendon right now.
Oh, good.
Good.
Nice shower.
We should be getting rain in the country
tomorrow.
Yes. We're having a cold front.
Yes.
Right. I heard
Damien?
Senator yesterday we then go open someplace in St. Elizabeth.
Senator Damien Crawford.
And he said people must put up $100,000 in our funds. I think can come. If this is another cash program we might talk about.
That's the trust loan fund?
Yeah.
For the one business per household?
Yeah, the one business.
One business or one degree?
One business. The degree is another pledge.
Oh.
But he's also pledging
Mr.
one business per household. Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Take you there on long time. You remember one crash program where they go on in? You remember one crash program where they go on in Jamaica where people used to use people take on when the people come around, they come look on your farm. You show them one next person farm.
What that?
But Carl, you know, so enough of that. What he is saying is that you establish a trust fund and that each household would be able to access it to set up a business if you have a credible idea and, you know, workable idea. What's wrong with that? Why only labor rights stay so? What's wrong with that?
Oh, you mean to say what's wrong with it?
Tell me what's wrong with it. Tell me what's wrong.
You want me to explain what's wrong with it then, Ricardo? Ricardo, a person can hardly find it to buy them sugar rice. What about get $100,000 put in a trust fund?
Well, I mean, I suppose he's talking about people who are, I don't want to make the case for Senator Crawford, but I suppose he's talking about people who are business minded and who want to make a little investment.
You see, Ricardo, you know what, me and Tyrone talk Friday. Me hate to hear these people come and just throw to an idea out the road. And they not come and tell you. Me always tell you, me have to come to the bright people like I to help you flush it out now. Because
mind you, I don't know if that is how it would work. I'm just assuming based on what I heard from him. He did not.
Just throw things out the road like that, just like the water busy with the 65 or the 60-year-old people. You just come and Julian just throw something out the road. You know, tell me how much people are 85, 86 or 65 and how much the water commissioner going to lose and how much it going to cost. You have to come with all of those ideas. If you decide to come with a plan, you have to come and sell it in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of we are not idiot about my country, no brother.
Mm-hmm.
Are you supporting Warren Newby?
Warren Newby, no, they enough for me here about.
Me know, but me asking in your parish.
I know, enough for me parish. Yes, in a Clarendon.
Yes.
We tell Sunday, man. We can't tell you everything.
No, me ask me not made us. I mean, ask if him go win. Me ask if you are supporting.
Well, a very bright boy now.
So yes.
You hear what me use?
Okay. All right.
You won't spin me like how Mr. You spin every other day and make me talk holy. You won't catch me there.
I heard that conversation. I mean, no say you must be a driver now. Just thump the sky with your ear. I heard. I'm going to say, I know Carl just somewhere begs you know. I want the credit done. I heard him, Carl. I heard him.
Anyhow, Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir.
As you know me tell you, we have 2 more presentations left. One with the Prime Minister. After 12 o'clock news tomorrow, we tell we are Thursday finish nationwide.
Why?
I can't listen nationwide after 12 o'clock news tomorrow. I don't have nothing to listen.
Oh, I see.
So, all right.
But you should listen.
No, you should absolutely listen to hear. Yes, and then hear the analysis after.
Come on, Carl.
No.
Come on, Carl.
Ricardo. I am not a dunce. I have to believe the former Prime Minister, P.J. Patterson, 18 and a half years. May they have to lead under his administration. P.J. Patterson tell me, say, we must not make a white man lead my country.
Okay.
So for me, hold on, Ricardo. For me to get up tomorrow and turn on a radio to listen to a white man in a black man parliament, it will be dashing water into my black face. That's what P.J. Patterson endorsed a white man to come to know, dash dirty water into our face. Have a blessed night.
Carl, don't leave yet. Don't leave me yet. How old are you, Carl? How old are you?
59.
59. You're a senior man now.
Senior man.
Yes? You have children?
Yes, 2.
2?
Yes.
What are you going to leave for them?
Well, if I look at Jamaica today,
yes,
and I'm putting down something, we go buy some shares in a Highway 2000, I buy some shares somewhere else already.
Yes.
For my son and those things.
Yes.
But when I looked at Jamaica today, we are into very good hands to make even some more preparation.
And we are. I will not disagree with that, but I'm saying to really build on those progress, gains, you need to improve the political maturity of the system.
And Cliff,
and
you are correct.
If you are going to help to improve the political maturity of the system, it must begin with you.
Yes, but Cliff, I won't dispute you. On that one. But Cliff, you was around long enough like myself too. And remember what some of us went through.
Yes. Yes.
And Cliff, it wasn't nice.
No.
Cliff, hold on now, Cliff. I went to a funeral over Portmore on Saturday in 18 and a half years. And the only thing the pastor did left to say, there was an election coming up. You see that old white man where they down at West Kingston? Keep far away from him.
Mm.
And I pulpit him was.
Mm-hmm.
And Cliff, I'm not afraid to tell you, it takes me years to start go back to a church.
But Carl, you have to learn to grow and to mature and get beyond that.
It's time when me I go grow
you
up
must
now,
make
Cliff.
people.
And time we will get fully mature now.
Well, you're allowing yourself to continue to be a hostage of that pulpit.
Cliff might be, I might be not. But Cliff,
listen to me, man.
After this general election, Cliff, when we square off in knife for the knife, then he will put him back on the banana boat. You say last night, I hope you want me to.
All right, Carl.
Thank you, Carl.
I have to go try another time.
You know, let me just say this, Cliff. And I get it because I urge him every night when he comes here not to go down the race baiting track.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of Labourites in the Cliff are deeply, deeply hurt about what happened. I've sat down and talked to some of the, especially the older ones, deeply hurt. And they say to me, you know, Ricardo can tell us to get over it, but you don't know what it was like to be vilified and treated like trash because of the party you supported.
Yes, and I know that there's that out there, that lingering resentment. Yeah, and they feel like it's their time now for payback.
Right.
Yeah. Right. All right, that's how we're going to leave it for this evening. We want to say thanks to all of our callers, our YouTubers, our WhatsAppers, and our tweets. Thank you so much to our producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew Anderson.
Excellent show.
And the members of the news and production team led by our editor, Miss Cara Powell. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
For over 30 years, Chris and Charles has been financing your goals, dreams, creating your great moments. Celebrate the occasion with us. Borrow $1 million, pay less than $25,000 monthly, and get 30% off your processing fees. No guarantor needed. Call 876-920-4189 or WhatsApp 876-838-9028. Conditions apply. When you think loans, think Chris